And like that, we back. It is Unpacked, presented by the To Be Fair Show and
the G Shit Podcast.
And we're back with another great conversation. Of course, I got a fire panel together. And we're gonna be tackling religion. Is this the first time we've really dug into religion? I feel like this might be. So the conversation probably has a bunch of legs that we kind of don't know which way it might run to. But the overall question, can religion save America? Better yet, can it save Black America? So before we get into it, we'll introduce the panel, starting at the top. G.
What's good, everybody? You know what it is. It's G, host of the G Shit Podcast. Make sure y'all check that out wherever you get your podcasts at GSHPOD. Ha!
Yo, what's up? I'm Alex, and I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Johnny P. Happy to be here again. Yeah, looking forward to it. Shout out Israel United in Christ. We had a great conversation with them on Sunday, so I'm looking forward to kind of, building on that tonight.
Yeah.
So what's up, man? It's A Black. You can follow me at Mayor Charlotte right there on the box. And yeah, happy to be here, man. Let's get it.
All right, gotcha. So I guess this will probably be a good, possibly necessary opening question. Does anybody here identify under, I guess, any specific religion? Yeah, I guess in general, do we have any practicing Muslims, Israelites, Christians? What else could you be? Jews? That's not derogatory, is it?
Nah.
Hindu, Buddhist,
Hindu, Buddhist.
we got some few of them out there. I'll start off. I grew up Christian. I grew up, my majority of my life was, based in the church. And so I do have a slight bias leaning towards Christianity. If I'm just going to be all the way fair about it, I do have that. As I've gotten older, I've tried to remove myself from any of the religions based on kind of the stuff I've seen because of religion. But I'm more of a spiritual person now, but because of my background, have a Christian bias.
Got you.
I grew up Christian, heavily in the church, Southern Baptist. I kind of got out of, religion myself for a while, and, was on my spiritual or whatever people say now. And then I'm a recently convert to Islam, so I'm a Muslim.
Okay.
I was raised Adventist, Seventh-day Adventist to be exact. I guess that's just what you do when you're Jamaican. That's pretty much how my mom was raised, what my grandma did. And currently, the last time I went to church was for a funeral. And honestly, being at that funeral, I was just dang, how did I ever sit through an entire sermon of this? It's just, I don't know. So I guess to describe me, I'm an atheist, pretty much in every sense of the word.
Okay. G, you identify anyway?
No, I would say similar to Johnny. Grew up with a Christian background, if you will. Both sides of the family are heavy leaning into Christianity, Black church, Southern Baptist style types. But yeah, I don't identify with the religion. But that is my lens in which I was raised. So I definitely have a view that, derives from some of those values for sure.
Gotcha. Is that a sage that you burning over there?
Palo Santo.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So with me, what's my religious journey? I guess my parents converted to Nation of Islam when I was really young. I was early elementary school. but I think like probably maybe my first memory might have been me getting baptized at some point in time. So that had to have been like 3 or 4. But then they converted over to Nation of Islam before we moved to Charlotte. So that had to have been by the time I was like 6 or so. So like I got memories of seeing, like Farrakhan speaking and all that shit like that when I was younger. They evolved into, I guess what you'll say, like just Orthodox Muslims, just kind of just regular Muslims, just going to the masjid, like that whole thing. And yeah, now I mean, I've kind of evolved to not identify with any of it. Yeah, I'm not like a specific big religious person, to be honest. That's probably closer where I kind of lean to. I think the best way I identify myself is like nihilistically existential.
Nigga, what?
Where oh yeah, I guess that's like some word salad shit. But to me, I truthfully believe that like whatever you believe, like if you believe it with like it's almost like the secret and the law of energy and all that shit. Where like whatever you put your belief in, it's not my job to disprove it to you. And as long as it works for you, it works for you. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. But it's not for me to believe pretty much of this shit. But so I think that with that said, we're burning. What'd you say? What is that? Palo Santo?
Yeah, Palo Santo.
We setting the mood. And I'll ask this to start it off. Is there a necessary reason to separate spirituality and religion in this conversation? Because I know like it can be interchangeable at times. And before we get into like the semantics war, should we define it, or is everybody cool with using that interchangeably?
So I think it should be two different things.
Okay.
Spirituality and religion. I think spirituality is more of a internal journey. And it could be, it can be without religion, it can be based on religion, but it's more of the spiritual journey that you have with yourself. I think religion, that's the opiate of the masses. I think there's been a lot of wars historically fought over religion. And I definitely think those are two separate, things. I think the religious is how it affects the masses, and the spirituality is probably how it more affects yourself.
I think they're somewhat similar. I just think religion is it's organized spirituality. Based on the culture, where you're from. Everybody, no matter where you're born, has the same questions. Like
somebody dinging.
That's me. Let me say everybody has the same questions. Like, why are we here? Where do we go when we're not here? And you find something to, I guess, worship or lean on that's higher than yourself. So with religion, that's just man trying to kind of answer those questions, based on mythology, ideology, philosophy. I mean, like Johnny said, it can be corrupted like anything and used to manipulate. If you have massive amount of people following something, it's been used as a tool of conquering and all of these things, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Islam. And, knowing that history was one of the things that had turned me off from it for a long time. But then at the same time, I realized, that was kind of man's hand in it. Like it wasn't really meant for that. And, just like anything else, man can kind of get a hold of something and use it to control and manipulate and take over with people. But I don't think that is the intention of most religions. I think people become zealots and religious fanatics, and they kind of will use the Bible or use the Quran or use these different texts to justify their own malicious intent. But I don't think it's a wrong or right one. It's just about a journey, and finding whatever works for you to get to a higher self. But yeah, man, that's what I think about that.
Alex G.
Yeah, I could say that. I think I agree that they're separate things. I see religion as just an institution with rules, regulations, people. I see religion more as not control spiritualism, or I forget how A Black framed it, but something to that effect. I think religion takes advantage of that desire within people to figure things out, and religion is a mechanism that plays on that part of humanity in an effort to control the masses. That's what I see religion as. It's more of a control mechanism than anything. When you look at the structure of a lot of these religions, they're formed like corporations. They have different branches. There's like an official organizational structure to it that's laid out just like most of our corporations that we know of. So yeah, I see it as an institution that that society uses to try and maintain some sort of social order, in my opinion. Spirituality, on the other hand, I think is more individual. Spirituality is how you define it for yourself, whereas religion defines what you are to do. So that's how I kind of see them as different. But like I said, religion is so open to interpretation, right? Like different religions use the same text to preach different messages, and so that's why I say like it's more of a mechanism to control people's thoughts and ideas, whereas spirituality, I think, gives room for people to think for themselves and define how they want to show up in this world.
Alex?
I think they're not separate things. I think spirituality is just like the micro, whereas religion is the macro. And I think we need to understand that like humans in general have always been spiritual. Spiritual is what you kind of lean to when you don't have the answers for everything. So you kind of have to make sense of everything. And also like the gods that your group and your ethnicity and your tribes and the people that you associate with, the group that like you make your own gods, no one thinks that they do, but like if you look at all the texts, like they're all man-made, and anything that you subscribe to, even on a personal level, that is something that you personally believe. If I follow these tenets, then I'm gonna have mental peace. I'm gonna be, physically sound every day when I go home. So ultimately, I think everyone kind of has their own version of reality that they all prescribe to. But to say that religion and spirituality are different things, I don't think so. Whether even for people who don't think they have a religion, like you believe in something, you associate and you kind of like latch onto the same ethos and the same logos that the people around you latch onto. But to say that you're not religious or not spiritual, like that's not necessarily like something worth like I guess like splitting hairs over. To me, they're both the same thing. I would say like a good example of that is like we pretty much live in a postmodern, society where back in the days, like pre-modern, when all you had to believe in was God and that was it. Like there was no entertainment. You couldn't sit on your couch and watch like 5 different, seasons of like on Netflix or anything like that. And you fast forward to today where there's so much content being produced that people are more so finding community and associating with themselves based upon the content they consume. Whereas like 100 years ago, like me and you were both together because we both were Christian. We both prescribed and subscribed to the same text. So if anything, I think I know more about somebody based upon the television shows that they watch, the music that they listen to, than the actual, like, I guess, text that they read, the religious text that they read. But that's just, I guess we'll get into that the further we talk.
Okay. All right. So, before we kind of progress the conversation, so what do y'all say? Is it, should we isolate it? Spirituality is specifically just you saying no, Johnny? We like just kind of bubble it. Spirituality, religion, all inside its own cabal.
No, it's separate. Yeah, I think like
Okay, so separate. Is that what y'all thinking?
yeah, I think because here's my thing about it, because the religion is like Alex said, we've always been spiritual. Like that's just like a part of human nature, the human experience is that like wanting to have that connection with the higher being. The religion is where I think we get
So would this
stuff.
be like a really simplified perspective of it? Spirituality is the basic belief in the higher power. Religion would be the belief in text and practices of a
Well, the
uh,
rules too. It's the rules and the practices that goes along with the
rules,
religion.
practices, and I mean use, but it's like
But even on
like
the
whether we're
individual
referencing the
level, like
Bible.
you're doing the same thing.
You say what?
On the individual level, like you're still doing the same thing. Like you, unless you just don't have any like steadfast beliefs, like you are following your own rules. Maybe it's not organized outside of you, but like that's
So I
why
guess maybe this will be like the question that I'm trying to avoid right now, and this is where I often see
We better do it.
things get messed up,
yeah.
mixed up at.
Yeah, I'm fine
Where
with
oh no,
separating it. I'll look at religion as the
yeah,
organized spirituality of
The
people.
institution
yeah,
of it.
but this is where I usually see it kind of like it gets mixed up, where a
Sure.
person will reference the Bible, and sometimes that's religion, and then sometimes it's them practicing spirituality if they don't claim to be a Christian. And to me, that's when it kind of gets like really confusing at times. Same difference with like whether you want to say the Quran, the Torah, whatever, where you're referencing a religious text in book, but sometimes people say spirituality, sometimes we say religion. Are we all cool with just calling that religious right there? If you're referencing a specific text.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not gonna have the personal
Yeah,
relationship
that's
clause.
cool.
Like
That's
that's
cool.
religion. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but then you also you got historians and people who just like history and reading, and they know the Quran, they know the Bible, you know, they know the Torah, and so they can reference stuff based on that. But they might not have a spiritual connection to the references. They might just know about it. You know, for me, it's like some of the most spiritual people I know are also like the most religious at the same time. You know, because
Mhm.
I was this person that I kind of took a back seat to religion growing up in the church. You know, you see a lot of bullshit. You see your parents heavily involved, but you see how they are at home. You know, you see how people who subscribe the most to it, their lives don't really go well. So it's like, why am I following this? So, but at the same time, I'm not bold enough to say I don't believe in God. So most of us take the route to say I don't believe in the church, and then you get this new iteration of, well, I'm spiritual, but people are not practicing, not really doing anything spiritual. They're not really praying, they're not really doing anything spiritual. It's just kind of become like this saying because you don't like the church, you don't like religion, but at the same time you are not going to say you don't believe in God because that's just preposterous. So I'm spiritual with a nice middle ground, but if you ask
It
them,
lets you escape accountability.
yeah. So if you ask them, well, what do you do that's
Yeah, they
spiritual?
usually is like lazy,
What makes you
lazy
spiritual?
Christians
Yeah,
I
And
mean,
and
you just
like
Muslims.
I look at it no different than language. Like we all speak English. Like we all have our own personal names, but like none of us sound the same. Like to say that because like you speak English in your own incantation and tone and voice and timbre that you aren't practicing English speaking. Like I think that's how I look at it. Like no matter if you're doing it on like a individual level, you're separating yourself from the church. Like it's still the same thing. Like you're basing, like if you are what I would claim a Christian or someone who reads the Bible, like I don't think there's like maybe you're on the spectrum between someone who's like a fundamentalist, but you're still kind of like deriving your belief system from the same text. So for me, like if the same way I look at like English is a like a language or a vehicle to communicate and express yourself, I look at if you have a personal relationship, if you're spiritual or anything, like you're pretty much like you're picking up the same tools, you're just not using them the same way.
Got you. Okay. So I guess if need be, we'll revisit this conversation, but just wanted to at least kind of touch on it. So I'll ask you this before we build into a specifically religious conversation. Um, do you look down upon or ostracize people who don't believe or don't have faith, quote unquote?
Are you talking about atheists or?
Yeah, you can say
Or-
atheist,
or- or-
agnostic,
or-
anybody, somebody that doesn't believe.
in anything.
But before
Or
we
God, I guess the idea would be God. I don't know if
Okay.
like even atheists don't believe in anything.
so that's one thing I want to ask somebody who self-identifies as an atheist, like what does that really mean to you in this context before responding to Q's question, because I think I'd like to hear that perspective as somebody who I've heard identify as an atheist.
Well, I guess it depends on like what kind of atheist you are. Like you can be like a anti-theist atheist where you like there is no God and I don't want to hear your bullshit. I'm not one of them people. I'm just an atheist. Like a God could exist. If I'm presented with evidence stating that this is irrefutable, then yeah, God exists. But until then, like I'm just one less God believing than the majority of people who are monotheists or polytheists. Like, if you believe in God, you don't believe in a lot of other gods because there's not been too much evidence to pretty much compel you, like, you know what? I'm gonna do what them Sikhs be doing. No, like you're just like, hey man, that's cool for you, but I don't believe it. And that's pretty much how I am. It's not that I don't believe in anything. I believe in a lot of things, but as far as when it comes to a theist or a deity, I don't believe that there is any to warrant, I guess, worshiping. And if you really ask yourself, like, what distinguishes your God from another God, like, especially like if you're Semitic, you know, like oftentimes I remember talking to my dad about it, like I had to explain to my dad, like, Dad, like Allah is like the same God in the Bible, right? And he's like, no, it's not. I'm like, Yahweh, Allah,
Well,
same
they all
person.
reference the Old Testament. They all
Yeah,
But
and he's like, no, it ain't. And it's like, to me, it's like one of those things, like, what makes this God, which is technically the same God, more real to you than another God? So, yeah, this answered your question, like, plain and simple, is I am on the fence. If more evidence is provided, then I'll gladly, like, yeah, that exists.
can I hop in and respond to that? Because I've honestly, like, Alex, been in the same like spot, but to me, and I guess this is perspective thing, because when I look at it and I see that all of these religions, all of these things, they're trying to do the same thing. They might speak about, I got this God here, you got Yahweh, you got Allah, but they're all trying to do the same thing, and it makes it almost like religion. Like, if the religions are language, wouldn't God be the communication? And that's all we trying to like build up to. And I think that's why I think there is a God. You can find God a number of different ways, just like you can communicate a number of different ways. But I think the lack of like evidence for one means that there's validity in all of them, because they all have a similar purpose. You understand what I'm saying?
I guess like you're looking at religion like a language in and of itself, but like you can speak English, you can speak French, Swahili, Yoruba,
Right, right.
all that stuff. Like you're not like those languages existing aren't competing for the same claim. If you're talking to anybody who's religious, like their God is the only God. Like I think like one of the viewers just said that. Like it's not that, oh, like this one's wrong, therefore all there's a validity in all of them. Like that's not necessarily the statement or the claim that any of them are making. Like, hey, like you don't believe what I believe, therefore you're a heretic, therefore you're
That's
an apostate, you know.
but I'm saying that's just what like I believe, and that's what like I think that's the problem with religion, is that people don't look at it in the proper perspective. They look at it as it's only one way. Just like some people that say, "Come over here and don't speak Spanish. We only speak English over here." And like in truth, there's way more ways to communicate than just English. And I think, and I ain't trying to go back and forth too much on it, but to me, I think that's why there's even validity in people who believe, who are atheists, because if that's your way, to I think all of the paths have validity, and that's what makes it such a beautiful thing, kind of, to me.
Uh, for me, man, the evidence is it's like all around us. Like you got belief and you got knowing, and belief is the absence of knowing. So you believe in things, based on your faith, based on what you're told. You don't technically know. So I like to kind of see like, what do I know? It's like you don't gotta believe your grandma exists. Like most people have met their grandma. The further you go back, your great grandmother, your great grandma, great, you might not have met them. So you gotta, have hope that they existed based on your family telling you. So, like, what do I know? When I walk out, when I see nature, when I see the sun, when I see waterfalls, when I see animals, like, I know that something beyond me created that. And like, I think I got to the point of accepting it's beyond my understanding. Like, I don't have to, quantify God or try to make meaning behind it. I know that there's something way bigger than me because like I just look at the complexity of life, from our nervous system to our DNA helix to there's something beyond just the human ego of knowing that created all of this. And for me, like that's enough. And like so life itself, is short. So I think, living, being happy in it and exploring, that's a way of thanking God, or whoever God or Allah or whatever you call him. Like that's religion to me, the earth, the rules that come with different things. It's like it's rules and everything. So the Bible say thou shalt not kill. The government say don't kill. You go to work, it say don't steal. Like everywhere we have rules, you got to have order, have civilized society. So like rules are always going to be there, but there's also practices, there's also rituals, there's also things to like build routine and build consistency, which help build a relationship in whatever you believe. If you're praying, some people call it praying, some people call it manifesting. Semantics or whatever, but it all comes down to being consistent in something.
Or the laws of the universe.
Yeah, being consistent in something and some type of routine, and that's how you have change. So it's like when I was younger, I had all these questions like, what is God and why would God like do this and why would God have slavery and all this stuff, and then I just realized like, what if God is just way beyond our understanding, and we're expecting Him to help us get into college or help this girl not break your heart or help me make some more money. Like God is like way beyond us. Like the whole universe is out there. This dude is busy. Like he already kind of created us, gave us a brain to reason and to think and to have free will. And I think just living, that's the religionist life, not trying to figure out why all the time. I think that's kind of been the crux of humanity, is like why and who, whatever.
So I guess I do want to redirect back to the question really quickly. I don't know if we've answered it yet. Do you look down on or ostracize people who don't believe or have faith?
So let me respond directly to the question. And that was one of the reasons why I asked Alex that, because one of the viewers, shout out to Larry, Modified Gentleman, episode of the podcast coming soon, by the way. There's a difference between what I would define as atheist and agnostic, and what I feel like you describe, Alex, would be more so agnostic versus what I hear when I speak to other people who self-proclaim as atheists, who flat out say like there is no higher power, like none of it exists. Whereas saying like you're kind of on the fence, could be, couldn't be, I would classify that more as agnostic. But to answer Q's question, I do have eyebrow raise at people who just straight up deny the presence of God. I do. I don't trust them. I don't want to really be around them like that, because we clearly aren't in the same world. Like it's like when I'm having conversations trying to build with certain people, I'm not saying that that when you have that point of view, we can't be cordial, we can't do business, we can't have some sort of relationship. But if I know that's how you believe in the world, then I just would question, well, what do you believe in? Period. Like, just what do you actually believe in other than what you can see? And to me, that's a very limiting perspective, because we all know even 20/20 vision don't see everything. our senses don't pick up everything. We don't hear every frequency. We don't see every color. Like when I do shrooms, I see stuff I ain't never seen before. So this idea that you only believe what you can see, believe what you can hear, but like based off of your perception and your senses is
that a proper depiction of how atheists look at it?
I think atheists don't believe in any God or higher power.
No, I understand the higher power. I guess I can't say like I've had like a super deep dive with the atheists, but to my understanding, there is like whether even if it's like metaphysics or like the laws of the universe and a lot of things that can't be seen, they do believe in like just basic like things that are definable in science probably.
Yeah, exactly.
With I imagine some gray area for what has not been understood, explained, etc. through the scientific process. But like I never thought of them as like people that only went from what they can literally see, like their five senses. It sounded like that's what you was describing them as.
I'm saying that when I talk to atheists, they want to try and like make logic of why there isn't a God, right? Like they want to make arguments. So like when I was talking to an atheist, she was like, if there's a God, why is there so much homelessness and hunger, right? And I'm like,
the ethics of God.
Yeah, exactly, right. And so I'm like, okay, look, that's a perspective you can have, but that's like your feeble mind trying to rationalize what God has created this world to be, like the way that the world works. Everything is just so interconnected. My point is saying that if you base your understanding of this world off of what you can sense, you're missing out on information that's around you. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Just because you didn't hear it doesn't mean that it's not, taking place. And so there are things that our senses can't pick up. And so when I talk to atheists often, it's like,
do they deny that part though? I guess that's what I keep going back to. Do they deny that part? To me,
which part?
There are things that their senses can't pick up, because I mean, like even down to like
no, they can't.
Like
well, I don't think you can deny that.
Like that. I believe that they all believe in those things, right?
Yeah, I don't think you can deny that, right? Like we have dog whistles, things you can use when you go hunting that certain animals can hear that don't really impact your ear. So I've never heard somebody.
Just like the belief if there's an actual higher power that is orchestrating things explicit, meaning like a lot of times it sounds like even with Alex, explicitly inside a way that we understand as humans.
What's your question?
Well, I guess I was responding to what you were saying. You were saying that atheists, I guess from I don't know. Like again, I haven't had like a long form conversation with a bunch of atheists. I've had like short form, like I've seen short form content of people that are atheists. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Alex, I feel like you might be able to be a better representation of I guess the pushback that I'm getting. And I guess the other part that I did want to ask is that, so if you don't, I guess if you do ostracize and look down upon people who are atheists, then that would mean that you have to have some level of a side eye for somebody that's agnostic, correct?
No.
Because they're just kind of like on the fence, right?
But that's different. Being on the fence and acknowledging I don't really know. I'm still figuring things out. Basically, like it's one thing if you're on the fence and you're actually on the fence, like how I heard Alex describe, could be, couldn't be. It's another thing to be like I'm on the fence, but then adamantly argue against the presence or the existence of a higher power. That's not really on the fence to me, right? So.
Well, it just sounds like they chose a side, but being on the fence, that means you do believe that there is some validity to the idea that there is no God.
That doesn't necessarily mean that to me. Well, it means you're on the fence.
Let me chime in. Like,
okay,
I think this is something that often gets said, like, oh, you're not an atheist or agnostic. No, like I'm an atheist. Atheist. Let's just look at the word theist. You believe in something. Lack of belief. I have a lack of belief in a God, which everyone does. Like, if I talk to you, you have a lack of belief in I don't know, let's just use a meme, the flying spaghetti monster. Like, you don't believe in that because that's not something that has been proven demonstrably true to you. So I'm an agnostic atheist. I lack a belief, but I'm also not out here. I'm not an anti-theist. Like, I'm not saying like there is no God. Like, I'm not making that claim. My claim is like, hey, I am the default state that everyone is born as. Like, you are born, and someone has to teach you to be Christian. Someone has to teach you to be, Islam. Someone has to teach you to be Hasidic Jew. No one has to teach me to be atheist. Like, I'm at my default setting. Like, if you rewind time all the way back to like before you was in the church, before you was in the mosque, before you was in the synagogue, you were an atheist. But someone convinced you, you know what? I believe this. This is true. So I get what G's saying, but like I wouldn't say that like someone who's an atheist is just automatically like you wouldn't share anything in common with them.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Well, like I guess like I'm like it's more so like by like they don't believe in anything and they're like they have like a limited like perspective of the world, and it's I can kind of see where that could come from, but like at the same time, I think people who are atheists are the most open-minded. Like, I can be around anybody talking about their religion. Like, when it's time for like Thanksgiving, I bow my head and hold everybody's hands and say grace. Like I participate in other people's religious services. If anything, I respect everyone's religious beliefs. I'm just of the opinion, like, hey, man, like this is something that people do as a culture. This is what people do to unify themselves. This is what people do to kind of like identify, like, oh yeah, when I'm like yesterday, like I went to Maria's tacos off of like South Boulevard. They get tacos, and like I saw like a Sikh man in there, and it's like, I'm not a Sikh, but like imagine that like some other Sikh saw him like with the turban and the long beard and the guard around his knife. Like, that's something so you can see somebody else and identify him with. As an atheist, I don't have that. So I think the modified gentleman, he said it like, like when you're an atheist, like there is no community because there's nothing to unify people around. So there is a benefit to that. And I guess to the larger conversation is like, what are Black Americans, people in general, like what are we going to unify, around, like to this day, we all know who Roman gods are and Greek gods are, but like, are those nations and countries and powers that used to be, are they still what they were? No. Like, are like what used to be wholeheartedly believing is now a myth now. And I'm pretty much like, I guess like I'm of the opinion, like the longer you let this stuff ride out, the more things kind of just look like this is what we believed in to unify ourselves. And once it no longer serves its purpose, people discard it all the time. We just haven't gotten there with like the Semitic religions.
Hey, Black, we haven't heard you the second.
Yeah, man. To your original question about looking down or side-eyeing atheists, agnostic, I don't. I feel like everybody has their own journey. I'm not going to sit up and argue with you. And I think it's a difference between being an atheist and being a devil worshiper. But Alex hit on something about community and unifying. And I think, the church and religion, especially in the Black community, for a large time was a safe space. It was that community thing. It was that area, especially during slavery, where you could go to church and be free, whether it's briefly. Some of them had white preachers in the beginning that only read certain parts of the Bible, and then it evolved to them having a Black preacher. But at the end of the day, it was a safe space. It was a community thing, and even if you didn't believe in God or believe in Jesus, you were still going to church. You were still going for what they call the fellowship of the whole thing. Transitioning to civil rights era in the 60s, the church was where they had their speeches, where they had their meetings, where they had their organization a lot of the times because they were centerpieces in the communities. I think, a lot of things started to shift in the 90s with prosperity preaching. It started to kind of turn a lot of people off because, you started to get mega churches, you started to get things that wasn't really focused on God, wasn't focused on community. our family, it was just like, give me the little bit of money you got, and I promise you'll get more. And a lot of times you kind of see that didn't pan out. So a lot of people, including myself, that's when people kind of start getting turned off from this, because we already are lacking financially. And then you're sitting in churches and they're like saying we need 100 people to bring $100 or nobody ain't gonna leave or stuff like that. And that's real shit. And so I think even when I was a Christian, I started leaning more towards, it was probably the Nation of Islam first before Islam, because I felt like they were talking more about Black empowerment, about Black unity, about Black financial elevation beyond prosperity, giving actual tools to grow, creating Black businesses. I was looking at this as a kid, like, I won't say as a kid, I would say like, middle school, I started getting tapped in a little bit to Farrakhan, and definitely like, college. Like, I think after I read the autobiography of Malcolm X, I was just like, life change. I'm like, no, this is what we need to be on. And it's like, I don't necessarily might not need religion, but the masses, everybody's not intellectually sound or can't really think for themselves properly and make the best decisions. We have good leaders, we have like good structure, we can progress. And I felt like Islam was, in the Nation of Islam, because you gotta separate them. That it was the best option for us, because I felt like Christianity was already kind of starting to get manipulated and more capitalistic, money motivated. You're getting these flashy preachers. They're buying mansions and Rolls Royce and Lexuses, and you're seeing people who've been going to the same church for 10, 15 years, the same beat down Honda. You see your mama go to church crying on the ground, and then get in the car cussing your ass out on the way back home. And then as a kid, you just in confusion, because it's like you don't really see people changing for real. You don't see people growing. And then I look over to this other side, and like I see them start, and there's always exceptions to everything. Like, so I don't diss Christianity no more. I feel like you can find benefit in all of them, but I do like the order. I do like the structure. Of Islam, and the routine and the culture behind it. And especially when you are in the mindset of creating a family, how would I want to raise my family? Like, I look at Islamic families and the Christian families, and those kids, and they're like super smart, and they're doing this and doing that. And I look at our kids, and I'm like, there's always exceptions, no diss, but you got to kind of find, I think, what works for you. Like, I don't think it's a right or wrong religion at the end of the day. It's just like what resonates with you more and what actually helps you.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're speaking close to the concept of Christianity converting Islam plus benefits. And it leads us into a natural segue to one of the questions. I have a video I'm gonna play, and from there we can get into it.
So while you're right that Christianity did exist in Africa before colonization, the Christianity that you practice, that your ancestors were taught, is the white man's religion. What you're most likely talking about is the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which is completely different than the colonized Protestantism or Catholicism that you practice. If you're a Black person whose ancestors are from the Americas or from the Caribbean, your ancestors from West Africa, where they took us from, were not Christian. And it was the white man's European colonized version of Christianity that they used to justify slavery. There are ways to decolonize your faith and dissect it from the agents of white supremacy that are so pervasive throughout it. I'm not interested in that, and I'm not going to teach you how to do that. I gave it up altogether. What I really want to drive home for people who might be struggling, for Christians who might be struggling with their faith and wanting to indulge in more like secular things, you can release yourself from this binary code in your brain that says something's good and you're going to heaven, or something's bad and you're going to hell. It's that kind of fear-based, like, mind control manipulation that I just can't get behind. Like, it's just like, it's not free thinking.
So I'll lead with the question. Don't mind it, whatever that TikTok was about to be. But with the question, or the so matter of fact, I'll make a statement, and then get y'all to respond to it. There's a question mark at the end of the statement, but I'll make the statement. Black people shouldn't be Christian.
I don't believe in saying all Black people should do one thing. You know, like I said, if that's what works for you and you actually are seeing positive progressions in your life, do that. Like, I don't think Black people are monolithic, you know, like, so whatever your path to God is, you take that path. Like, so there's corruption, there's manipulation, there's all type of darkness in the misuse of religion that we know about, but there's also a lot of good stuff too. So it's like, which side do you take? Which side do you subscribe to? And can it help elevate your life? And that's what you take.
I think that movie, Menace to Society, right? There's a scene where the Muslim dude in the movie, it was the one Muslim brother who was like, my brother this, my brother that, and his dad at some point in the movie was like, if being a Muslim makes him a better man, then I'm all for him doing whatever makes him a better man, something to that effect. And I think that's like, my feeling on it too. I would never just make a blanket statement that Black people just shouldn't be Christians, because I'm gonna be honest, I know some niggas, man, without Christianity, they are reckless. They need an excuse to fall. Like, it's almost like some people, if they don't have religion, they don't have self-control. They don't have the ability to just be like a productive citizen, for lack of better words, like that structure. Some people need certain structure in their life, and religion does provide structure to how you go about your life and your day to day. And so I think for some people that is a great benefit. And I agree with A Black, man. If that is what makes you the best version of yourself, then you should pursue whatever that is for yourself.
Alex?
Oftentimes, like, as the atheist who kind of is like always on the outside looking in on a lot of these conversations, like, I think that I'm always fascinated that people always like work backwards from their conclusion. And what I mean by that is, it's like even on this panel, like, A Black is a good example. Like, he grew up Christian, kind of like deducted and reduced, like, this isn't for me. Did his thing, and now, converted to Islam. And the main component in each of those decisions is A Black coming to the determination, like no higher power is leading him anywhere. It's just, this doesn't work for me. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like, that's the modus operandi for everyone as far as the religion goes. Like, this works for me, this doesn't work for me. And in order for you to be saved or confess your soul to Jesus, you have to be of the sound mind of saying, like, this is something worth doing, or this is something not worth doing. And you have to then ask yourself, like, where did this come from? As you grow, your society, your environment, your parents, they're all teaching you like your values. And then you find a religion and you latch onto it and you go from there. And a lot of people outgrow their religion. A lot of people like, all right, I'm going to not do this part. I'm not going to do that part. That all comes from you making a personal decision that, like, you know what? The Bible says this, but I'm going to fucking eat this pepperoni pizza. The Quran says this, but fuck it, I'm going to drink today. Like, I'm hungry. Like, it's, I'm like, I can't be out here not eating during Ramadan. So you're always making decisions about what is something you're going to prescribe to and something you're not going to prescribe to. I'm not trying to be like a warlock and be like, the Old Testament says that, but like, I always go back to the Old Testament because there's a lot of things in the Old Testament that people who are of the faith are like, bro, I'm not about to do that. I'm not about to do this. And I'll always ask them, why? Where is this decision coming from? Why are you making the decision? And who gave you the authority over your life to say, you know what, this isn't something for me? And I think the young lady made a good point, like a binary. Like, if I don't do this, then I'm not going to go to heaven. If I don't do this, I'm going to go to hell. I can't necessarily remember the minister's name, but I believe it was like a Islam imam or something like that. And it was like an old YouTube video, but like pretty much his point was like, you're in hell. Like hell is here. You're living in it. You're going through this every day. So why are you waiting on a promise? And like, I was kind of, this is like when I was still a Christian, but like, this is like, when I heard it, it was like, yeah, like if you sitting here waiting for heaven, someone can always trick you and play you for a dumbass today and have you waiting and believing and have you always wanting something else. But like, as far as I'm concerned, as an agnostic atheist, an afterlife isn't promised. That's why I have to make the most of now. And that's why I would say, like, as far as Christianity goes for the Black community, you have to judge a fruit by its tree. And if we're looking at us around the diaspora all over the continent, we're predominantly Christian and we're looking at our fruits. No, I don't think so. I think there's a better vehicle. There's a better way of pursuing things because it's already there. We're already deciding these things and we're just stopping short of like, all right, I'm going to do this. But I think the harder thing to do is, why do you do this? And can you substantiate why you do that? Like, can you stand on your own merits of like, why, like, I guess like, instead of waiting for some afterlife, like reward, like, why should you not kill somebody? Why is it not a good thing to lie? Why is it not a good thing to cheat, people out of, their hard-earned stuff? So yeah, that's all I got to say.
Gotcha. A Black, I'm gonna give you a chance to respond, but Johnny, just hop back in. I'm gonna ask you this question. Respond as you will. Well, I'm gonna make a statement. It's a statement. And then you respond to the statement. Black people shouldn't be Christian.
No, we probably shouldn't. And like I said, I had a little technical difficulty. I'm hopping back in. I apologize. I don't know what's been said since I've been gone, so I'm gonna just give my take on it. I think I said this Sunday, to be fair. So, Israel united in Christ. Shout out them boys.
Johnny stood on business. Tell them what you told him. What you told him, Johnny?
But I told him that, like, why are we so steadfast? And they explained it to me, like it came around. But like, why are we so steadfast in Christianity if like our experience in America, like from day one, has included Christianity, and we see how far it's taken us. And so like when it comes to Christian, when I was listening to Alex talk, it sounded like we was kind of going on all religions, but I can almost say the same thing for Islam and how a lot of the darker skinned people in Islam are doing compared to the lighter skinned ones. And so it's not just an attack on any one religion, it's just an attack on the institution of religion as a whole and how it's sold to us as a benefit, but in all actuality, it's not benefiting the people, but benefiting the small elites and power group, ultimately, at the end of the day.
A Black, I give you a chance to respond.
Yeah, I don't know if I got anything, different to say to that.
Okay, gotcha. I know he used, A Black as an example, so I just wanted to at least give you the chance. G.
I don't. Yeah, like I said, I feel like.
Did you already answer this?
Yeah, I answered it. Yeah, all right. I feel like you what works for you, you should pursue. Right, whatever makes you a good human being is what you should embrace.
Gotcha. And what do you say to the concept? I guess Johnny, I know he was hinting at it. The idea that Christianity is the religion of the colonizer and it's did nothing but oppress Black people, and Black people shouldn't practice a religion that in essence enslaved them and was used to justify enslavement to them. And prior to coming to America, quote unquote, were not practicing this specific religion.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of that is valid, right? Like it is very likely that any West Africans in those days weren't practicing Christianity by choice, right? Same deal here in the States, Caribbean. Like, these weren't by choice. So I do think when you descend from this new world that is this social experiment, you need to question everything that's been passed down from one generation to the next, even your own family values, to the point of like, well, why does the family have these values? Like, who gave us these values? Why did our great whatever started, right? Why do we need to keep it? So I think that's just, par for the course. Like, anything passed to us in slavery should be questioned to some degree, if that's still in your tradition and routine, from your diet to your spirit, religion, all of the above, like, which is a whole other conversation, which is why I'm so big on Black families, because they wouldn't allow us to have those things. Like, we should be chasing the things that they intentionally tried to keep away from us, because they kept these things away from us for certain reasons. We should be pursuing those things versus embracing the things that they actually willfully gave to us, because they willfully gave us these things for the reasons of control, right? There was no for their benefit. It wasn't for our own benefit. That's for sure. So I agree with that.
I will add, not necessarily a pushback, but more context. It's like, I think, yeah, their intention was control and oppression initially with religion. The same way of like taking our languages away, taking our religion away. It's a form of taking somebody's power away. But I don't know if anybody's been to a white Christian church versus a Black Christian church. It's a lot of differences in how they quote worship, and what Black people did or Africans did. They definitely slid a lot of their own religious practices into Christianity. If you there was I can't think of the book, but it's a book that makes parallels to like a lot of African tribal things in West Africa, and how we incorporated them into this new religion, how they were passed down. So like, you have this new religion, but at the same time, you're still doing a lot of your African practices. And even though this was forced upon us, this new Europeanized version of Christianity, at the same time, that belief, whether it's real or wrong or right, is what saved a lot of people during those times. The belief of a heaven, the belief of something being better. And, that is what kept a lot of people pushing. Like, all right, I'm a slave, or I'm dealing with this, but I know one thing, it's going to be better. And it's a fucked up manipulation tactic, but at the same time, people wouldn't have survived in a lot of ways without it.
But hey, Black, to that same point, it also created a very docile environment that was turn the other cheek, and our day is coming when we get to heaven versus what we're going through today too. So it's like, what else did they have to use to survive? Like I said, this was given to, like, they didn't even have any other options. Like, it's like both sides of the coin. It's like, yeah, some folks may have used that to survive. Nat Turner said God told him to do what he did, right? And that was based off of, his Christian beliefs and so forth. But a lot of that Christian mindset is part of the reason why people were turning the other cheek and weren't as rebellious as as maybe some other mindsets would provoke. Like, yeah. Would you agree with that?
I do agree, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Turner, because yeah, there was a docile thing that was created, but I mean, we got historical record of hundreds of different rebellions, Nat Turner being one of the most popular, basically using the Bible as his blueprint to why they should be free. You look at Harriet Tubman, using the Bible on why they should be free. So it's like, it's another one of those things where Black people take something that was used to oppress us or used to be against us, and we kind of are transforming it into a way of making it our benefit, making it our base, our spiritual grounding, whether knowingly or unknowingly. But almost every rebellion had a religious backdrop to it that they used to where, like, no, we shouldn't be docile. I know how to read now. I just read about the Israelites. I just read about the Egyptians. Like, I'm putting this together. You know, we supposed to be free. We supposed to go to the promised land. You know,
But those,
children of Israel.
I was gonna say, but like, yes, a lot of those like protests have been like in the name of religion, but I think religion is also the thing that ended up like keeping them from growing even bigger. I think a lot of the, like, we look at like say like the 1994 crime bill, or a lot of things. There's a lot of things where the churches like deliberately, even in modern days, put us in bad situations just based on us following their lead, just believing in what they, and I think it's just like, I think that's what we got to watch out, is like in modern times the leaders in Christianity don't necessarily have the community's best interests at heart.
Where you at right now, Johnny? I'm gonna share a video. And I'd like to get y'all opinion to it. Where we at? Here we go.
Black folks.
They ain't about to come in.
Mega church don't care about black folks.
That's what you
My problem with black religion is threefold. You take three things from black people that we can't afford to waste and can't never get back. Number one is money. You take too much resources. Every black church should have three institutions. You should have a school for our kids, a bank to invest in our people, and you should have a community garden to feed our people good food. Every church should have those three. If you are bringing in at least $250,000 a year in tithes and you ain't got a school, a bank, and a garden, you a goddamn fraud. I don't care who you are. Remember what I said, 250K. If you less than 250K, you should still be doing something, but I'm not gonna hold you to the same standard. But if you $250,000 that you can depend on annually, you should have some institutions for the people. So number one, they take too much money. Number two, Joe, they take too much of our time. You don't get your time back. You can make that money back. You can't make your time back. Bible study, Sunday service, Sunday morning service, Sunday night service, gospel choir, Thursday. Why are you taking all this time and you're not giving us nothing? And the third thing that they take from us that we can't afford to waste and have misuse is hope. The black church abuses our hope by constantly making you feel Jesus or Muhammad going to come and make everything right when the time is right. And that's why black religion plays right into the hand of the white power structure. You know why? Because it has black people thinking they don't have to do shit but wait and pray in order to change their circumstances. And that's why Napoleon Bonaparte, and I'm a fan of Napoleon Bonaparte, the white man's greatest military strategist, said what? Religion is what keeps the poor man from killing the rich one.
Yes, indeed.
No.
Umar
gave that white man some credit, man. Shout out to Umar, bro. I ain't never heard of. Shout out.
Yeah, I ain't never heard of it.
So,
What
has the black church let us down?
No question.
I wouldn't say that. I mean,
They let Nas down, bro.
depend on what era you speak. Like, I love Dr. Umar. I love Dr. Umar to death. But anybody that follow him, who's his greatest hero?
Marcus Garvey.
Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey was a huge, staunch Christian, and he created the biggest black movement still to this day. So it's like,
but he does. But Marcus Garvey thing was that he tried to make it non-religious, though, right? And he said that if you added religion into it, that's when the people would start fighting.
I'll have to look into more of that detail. I know.
He was Jamaican.
He used a lot of the Bible in his rhetoric, and you know the same thing that Umar is saying about the church, people can say about him. Like, where's all the money you've gone in the institution that you've supposed to have been created for going on a decade now? Like, we know that the church can do fucked up things. So I know personally of churches that have created schools, created rec centers, that have done well by the money that they have. So you got both sides. You got people that pimp out the people, the poor people who don't get nothing back. And then you have people that really are building up stuff, you know, through the church. So like I say, it's dark and light in both of it. You know, it's like you can't dismiss the positive side of the church and just uplift the negative as well, because the church has been a very important part to the black community, good and bad.
But yo, hey, Black,
hold on. Hey, can I hop? Or I
go ahead. So let me give, I guess, like a point of clarity for what I just said. And this is December 1921. We people down this way regard our movement as a religion. Even so, Marcus Garvey outspokenly declared himself to be not religious in the traditional sense, and repeatedly defined his concerns as secular. So I guess that's more so what I was speaking towards, where he was Christian, but he looked at the black plight as secular. G or Johnny.
I want to just kind of to respond to where like not go back and forth, but like where A Black was. I think like I grew up in the church. I know there's a lot of good that the church does. I don't want to, knock, a lot of the person, a lot of the man I am today is because of my experience in the black church. I think there's a lot of benefit to be had, but we're talking about, has it let the black community down? I think like absolutely, from just even the last, like even like in recent times, what we how we see some of the things that the black church promotes or endorses, and we see how we already see how that party or that side of it doesn't necessarily benefit us. But if you go to the black church, that's all they're pushing. They're pushing an agenda that doesn't necessarily benefit us, and a lot of times it even goes against the things that are in the text of the Bible that they say they believe. And so I think that is why it has let the community, black people down.
What do we really have in comparison? Like, what hasn't let the black community down?
But that's not
the Nation of Islam.
But
like they ain't really done too much.
Ain't that religion?
I don't. But see, like, why do we have to answer that question by comparing it to something else, right? Like why does Dr. Umar, like, because what Umar is not an institution like the church. He's one man trying to do something. He's actually got buildings. He's trying to get funding. Like he's putting in work to do what he says that he's going to do. So it's like, I don't feel like, so it's like, hey, like if I were to ask you approximately how many black churches are just in Charlotte alone, could you even put a number on it?
Nah, that's a lot.
It's like how many? Like I mean, more churches than schools, more churches than universities, more churches than it's black churches everywhere, especially in North Carolina, right? You talking even in Durham, it's mad black churches. So if I look at all of these black churches in a radius like a Charlotte, like a Durham, and I look at what impact they have on the black communities, it ain't adding up. It's not adding up. And the impact is there in the fact that black people embrace the church still, not as much as the past, but like Umar said, they get a lot of our time, a lot of our money, a lot of our hope. But when they get those resources, how do they reinvest it back into the communities? And that to me is where I think black churches have really let us down, because they're in our communities, but yet the communities aren't really feeling the impact outside the walls of the church. Like that presence should be more felt based off of how many just churches alone that we have, in my opinion. So like that to me is just a clear sign of something's not really working right, or something's off, because there's just why we got so many churches, but yet our communities struggle in so many different ways, and we don't have these access to these resources.
Nah, like that part I agree with. That's what I was saying earlier about like how a big shift started happening in the late 80s and 90s with the intent behind the church. I think at one point it was doing good for the community. But yeah, like you said, like they start getting an influx of money. People start getting corrupted like they do with money and not really redistributing funds. So, let's say if it's 100 churches in Charlotte, black churches, maybe only 15 or 20 are actually really doing good stuff for the community abroad. Not to say that that's each church responsibility. Some are small and they might just focus on their congregation. Like my mom went from a mega church to like a very small, everybody in the church might be 30 people in there on Sunday, but they do more than church. They do financial growth. They do fitness boot camps. Like all the women have lost like over 100 pounds. Like when I first visited the church, I think my mom went maybe like 12 years ago, everybody was kind of big back up in there. You know,
BBWs, goddamn.
Oh, but yeah, like,
Airbuilt,
like
goddamn.
your typical, you know, Baptist church. And the preacher, she got up there is like, no, we go do more than just talk. Like, y'all gonna be here on Saturday at 6 a.m. We running, like we doing week class, like we doing other stuff, you know. So and I like that in a small fashion. She's helped people build businesses. Like they built a school, like they do shit and they're very small. And then I've been in the mega church and I'm just seeing like people pouring in money and not getting nothing back. You know, like every Sunday it's just a different type of sermon on why you should give this man some money. And that I wasn't feeling. So I think on the majority today, if we're talking just today, then nah, it's not really helping us. And I asked the question of like, well, what really is? We talked about HBCUs, we talked about hip hop, we talked about all these established institutions. And I'm just like, what hasn't really let us down? You know, what hasn't money corrupted for real? Because that's what it kind of comes down to. You know, a lot
That's
of these.
a great topic. I'm gonna write
What
that
does that
down.
mean?
For a whole show
Is that
episode.
an
Good
indictment
God.
on the character of the community?
I mean, it's human nature. You got money. You got churches getting government subsidies and tax write-offs and all these things from the government from having churches. When you ask why we have so many churches, there's a lot of benefits from the government and tax standpoint of having a church, even if it's a little brick and mortar with nobody in it. People are doing them up, you know. So money just corrupts, and it hasn't always been that way because it always, you know, preachers wasn't always rich. You know, Martin Luther King wasn't making like hella money and stuff like that. Those preachers back in the day, they just had the community. These new preachers, they you know, T.D. Jakes, Creflo Dollar, like they are making.
They go to Diddy parties.
And so anybody that read the Bible, you know what it say about a rich man. It's hard for them to get into heaven. What they say?
It's more likely than a camel fitting through a pin needle or something crazy.
Exactly. So it's it's not too many rich preachers that I trust. Like,
What them Israelites say about preachers on Sunday, Johnny?
Hey, they called them they called them some low down dirty. Nah, they ain't what they said, but they said they some.
They did. They called them
some,
dogs.
They said they some dogs. But like, hey, Black, like then if it's like if money is always going to corrupt, like what does that say about us as a people? And if like we'd take a bag over the betterment of our community, like, and I get it, a bag is a bag, but at some point, if we all sitting up here talking about like we want,
is that a black condition or a human condition?
And I don't think it's the money either, because it's like I got like
I'm
FBA
asking,
trade.
I don't know. I'm asking.
This is where we need FBA trade because we are under attack. Like, it's not just that the money corrupts. Like, these black institutions, they once had value, and then all of a sudden they didn't. Right? Then something happens and they fall apart. They get infiltrated.
Is the money that
it's not just the money. They're intentionally infiltrated, attacked, and there's like a, you know, there's an intent to ensure that black communities don't build anything of true value in the United States. Like, I think that is true. It's not just the money corrupts. There's also a systematic attack against our institutions in a way that other minorities, they don't face the same challenges, I will argue.
Yeah, and that's true too. Like I had a mega church pastor in Charlotte. He bought like 64 acres prime land in Charlotte. Like, and before that, no issue. After he bought that land, he like had a target on his back. He's talking about how he's going to develop it, low income housing, all of these great things for the community. They put him in prison. You know what? For tax.
Wow.
They put him in prison for taxes, for tax evasion. Because, you know, preachers, they travel to other churches, they get love offerings, they get all these things. They say he wasn't accounted for. They had him in court as a big thing on Charlotte News. And the most criminal thing was he said he put his daughter through college. He went to Clark and stuff, you know. But outside of that, he had no problems until he bought all this land and started talking about black empowerment. And then all of a sudden, it's target on this microscope on her, and they're like, oh, your taxes are off. Like they had spies in the church. Like it was crazy. It was deep. But so you got that side of the guys who actually have good intent. And when they try to start doing things, then people kind of start trying to find something wrong with them, and they get put in prison.
That's crazy.
Taxes always get a lot of them.
Gotcha. Alex, we haven't heard from you for in a second.
To answer the question,
POV.
has the Black community been let down by the Black church? I think the question is a little bit, well, the answer is a little bit more nuanced. For me personally, I don't think so. I think this kind of goes back to the previous point I made, where you as an individual is making decisions about what is ultimately best from you from an internal decision-making mechanism. And the reason why I say that is my church that I grew up in, went to a Seventh-day Adventist church in Columbia, South Carolina. My mom still goes there. And like yeah, like the way they were organized during like the pandemic, like even to this day, like they go out and do outreach into the community. And my church, the one that I grew up in, is a part of a larger conference from Georgia, South Carolina. Pretty much all Black Seventh-day Adventist church are a part of the same conference. And we have a college in Alabama called Oakwood. A lot of my ex-girlfriends from back in the day, lawyers, a lot of my homies that I grew up with, like they're doing pretty well for themselves. Like I would say like we're all pretty much successful, and the reason why I'm saying that is like outside of like the church stuff, like we were doing stuff like outside of the Bible to pretty much get us on the right path. All my homies that I grew up with, like maybe some of them, went wayward, but like the majority of them are married. The majority of them holding down like really good jobs. The majority of them started their own business. So if your church has failed you, that goes back to what I said. Why? Because you can't just subscribe to something, and if it's not doing nothing for you, a lot of people are like, hey, like, I believe this. I think you believe that because you're seeing the ultimate benefit. But like, if you're just going into places believing whatever someone tells you, I don't think you're being necessarily a responsible human being. I would just like, if I'm just going to compare like what Black people have been able to do in comparison to like a new church, like the Church of Latter-day Saints, that's the Mormons. Like they just started in the 1830s, and like they got colleges, they got hospitals, all kinds of shit. And like, if you really look at Black institutions that were started in religion, like even in Columbia, like you got Allen, that's a Methodist, a Black Methodist college. Like we're doing the same thing on the same scale. Now, if you are going to a church and you're not getting any real benefit, that's a you problem. That's something you need to ask. And it always goes back to what I say. Like, if you're not getting anything out of church, or you're not getting anything out of your worldview, that's not time for you to reflect and time for you to kind of take assessment of like, hey, like this isn't working. Why isn't this working? And like, I didn't really get the chance to say it, but like, I think more so than anything, Black people need therapy. Black people need to be heard. Black people need to be understood. Black people need a hug. Church is cool, but I think sometimes getting some time to just reflect and sitting down and having someone listen to you and really working out all the fucked up things that you kind of brought on and like taught yourself as a coping mechanism, I think that'll serve the Black community in addition to the communities that we're able to build in churches and outside of churches. But yeah, that's all I had to say.
Can I respond to that? Because and just like when you said, like, if you're not getting anything out of church, that's on you. But I think like, because yeah, you're right. Like if you go and you don't get that, that's like your own personal thing. But I think if we're talking about like on a larger scale, the church has influenced Black people to do behaviors that like aren't in the Bible and that have been detrimental to our benefit, as like such as just as like voting for Democrats. Like you go to every Black church, they're gonna tell you vote Democrat. We have seen how well that has worked for us. And
well, like to some degree, Johnny, like I think it's worth reflecting on at the Black church. Like I don't know how all Black churches are, but like as far as the Adventist church, and I'm pretty sure all of them, like everybody had that
difference. Like Southern Baptist versus
like,
Adventist versus
that's not the point I'm getting at. Like what I'm saying is like the way that they're governed, like they got deaconess boards. They're all like little tiny like democracies, anybody on that pulpit is up there is because to some degree there's a consensus among the church that like that's the person we want leading us. That's the person we want to listen to. So once again, like,
It's not
is
how
the
it
church
works
like this? Hold on,
every
Johnny. Like,
time.
is the church deceiving you? No. Like, as far as like the church that I grew up in, he's not like the pastor or he or she is not up there because of accident. They're up there because we voted them up there. They're up there because we believe in them. Hell, the reason why the congregation is there is because everyone's collected. Like, you know what? I come here every Saturday. I spend my Sabbath here and I come back feeling fulfilled. That's every black church across America. If you're going to church and you're not getting anything out of it, that's a you problem, bro.
But Alex, you gonna act like I grew up AMEZ, African Methodist Episcopal Zion. Like I grew up, and you don't choose your pastor. You elect the bishops, and then it's the same thing with how our democracy works. You elect the bishops, then the bishops they appoint pastors, and they put pastors in different churches. You don't get to choose, and so whoever your pastor is, it's not a choice that congregation made. It's a choice that the bigger organization, whether it's AMEZ,
you're making this, but you're choosing in two different ways, Johnny. Like you might have like a direct
pastor.
You might have a direct democracy where you're like, nah, we gotta get so and so off the pulpit, and then also like you sitting your ass in that church every Saturday or Sunday. That's you also deciding who you want in charge of like your spiritual leadership. So that's what I'm saying. If you're going to a church and you're leaving that motherfucker empty, that's because that's as far as you're concerned, that's all that's good for you. You know what I'm saying? So that I know church is different for everybody. I know people get different things out of church. My older brother, he loves church.
Say this,
like he got to play the piano, he got to do pantomime and all that stuff. So it's a community for him, you know.
Gotcha. Well, once your family is in a church, hey, Quint, can I add this? Like, once your family is in a church, a lot of times it's legacy. It's hard to just go to another church. If your grandmother, your great grandmother, your mom has went to that particular church, it's hard just to uproot and just choose another church family. That's a real thing in a lot of these churches too. It's a loyalty based on family.
Yeah, it's a loyalty based on family, but like if your family has been in church for generations and they have nothing to show for it, it's time for you to start reassessing those traditions. I'm not saying don't be a Christian no more, but there's plenty of other churches you can go to where it's like, you know what, I'm gonna start something new, but it always is gonna come back to you making personal decisions based upon your own internal morals, you know. But yeah,
Alex, I guess, in me listening, so do you think that your perspective is really micro in comparison to like the question? Well, like in the macro sense, when we speak about institutions on a grand scale, when you speak about like if we're just pointing back to the meme in which Dr. Umar was speaking about, and what Black churches impact over history, over extended periods of time have had on the Black community as a whole, and not just explicitly individuals that are inside each individual congregation.
No, I don't think I'm looking at it in a micro sense because, like to G's point, like you throw a brick somewhere, there's a church. It's gonna hit a church. Like there's so many churches that you have.
But do you think for the amount of churches that exist inside, let's just say inside the Bible Belt South, that the progress and success is representative of it?
I think it varies from church to church, and that's why, like, I'm of the opinion.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that the question is speaking in whole, and not like explicitly in the microcosm of a church.
But like, that's why I'm saying you have to speak as it, like, in those, like, you have to base it church to church. Chuck Wu said a good point. Like, hey, like, you know, us Nigerians, blah blah blah. We come over here, we married and this and that. Like, hey, like that's working for you, but like for me, like if I'm at my mom's house, I'm driving, like if just to drive from the grocery store to my mom's house, I'm passing at least 12 different churches. And the thing about it is, like, if you're saying that the Black church has failed you, you have infinite amount of options, and you picking the one that doesn't do anything for you. That's a you problem. You know, I think at the end of the day, if you're going to church with with goals, with values, like, hey, like, ultimately, what I'm saying is, like, we don't have like the Black community. The Black church has failed the Black community. The Black community needs to expect more from their church on an individual basis. That's more what I'm saying.
Gotcha. A Black, land the plane on this one. I think you muted.
Okay. Yeah, man. Like just like I was saying, at the end of the day, it's good churches, it's bad churches. Overall, right now, currently, I think the church has let us down. I don't think they're doing enough for the Black community anymore. Like they're not really at the forefront of leading anything, organizing anything like it used to. So right now, 2024, it's bad out here. I was talking to my mom about why our generation don't go to church no more, and it's just like, we don't really be with the bullshit at the end of the day. That a lot of
Black, hold that. That's a question for a little bit later.
Okay.
So I see value inside where you was about to get to. I guess if we push the conversation forward a little bit, and this throws reference to we just had, I say Israelites because I don't want to mispronounce like their name in total.
Israel United in Christ.
Okay.
IUIC.
There we go. Johnny said it. They were here and we was having a conversation with them. And I'll ask y'all this question. This question is based off a little bit of their perspective, where they was at, and I guess a bit of their doctrine. But do y'all believe that? Well, I guess I'll build it inside 3 parts. Do you believe that there is one true book, one true religion, and that for the success of us as a people, we all have to find pretty much one religion, one ideology to adapt? So we can start with, do you believe that there's one true book, one true religion?
Nah, that's the short answer for me. I say no. Like I say, we don't got no proof of anything at the end of the day. But like I say, I think it's a lot of good lessons that can be gleaned from all of them. I like Buddhist quotes. I like quotes from the Quran. I like stuff from the Bible. Like I say, it's what you lean to is going to be based on what you grew up in majority of the time. But being a historian, being just curious in general, like I like to see, well, what they read and what they talking about in there. And I see a lot of stuff like, oh, that's dope. And I see a lot of stuff like, I don't agree with that. Even in Islam, I see a lot of stuff that's like, okay, I can ride with that. And then I don't follow all the rules myself. Men are not supposed to wear gold in Islam. Shit, my brand is called Black is Gold. So I like push back on that. I'm like, well, how is that stopping me from being a good person, at the end of the day? I think, like I say, these are manuscripts that give a lot of lessons that have been lived before and times where people didn't have answers. So you can read about Job, you can read about Noah, you can read about Isaac and his son and glean different lessons from it and stuff. And same in Islam with Muhammad and all the different prophets in that I'm still learning about. It's like, I can't say anything is right or wrong. I can just say like what I can learn from and how I can apply that to my own life. And I believe in like taking stuff from everywhere,
Anybody else?
I somewhat agree with that. Like just kind of reading everything and trying to think critically about what you read, right? I don't think there's one text that speaks the whole truth and nothing but the truth, if you will, when it comes to that. Like you can gain value from all these different scriptures. But if there is one, say, true book that I've ever come across, it's the Kabbalion. That's just me personally. It's got 7 principles. I think those principles are very tough to deny. I would love to hear Alex's opinion on the Kabbalion if he were to look into it and those principles. I feel like that's the one true book that I've come across.
Does it also have like an origin, like the human origin story and all that?
No, it doesn't.
Like a book of principles.
It just speaks to like 7 universal laws that.
Oh well, yeah. I don't
that
think you
govern.
have to be like religious to believe in anything like that, do you?
Some people might even say that it's some religious folks might read it and be like, that's not of God or not of Jesus or something like that. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, like universal laws is, I don't think that's like explicitly spiritual or religious, right?
I think there's a big piece of spirituality to it. Yeah, I do personally. Okay. Yeah.
I haven't read it, so yeah.
Me neither.
Is there one true book? No, I don't think so, because like I think you might find a book that gets like maybe like it speaks to you at the current time of your life that you're at, but like I don't think you're gonna find one true text that like, I mean, outside of like a math book probably, like where it's just like stone cold logic, but like that's not what people are looking for when they're trying to like, you know.
Well, I get so, and I'm gonna continue to let you go. To give better context, so for example, the Israelites, they say that the Bible is in essence a history book, but I've also heard that exact same thing from Christians as well.
Yeah.
In which like this is the truth, this should be followed as the truth, and if you don't believe in this thing, then in essence, when time comes, you know, shit gonna happen, and we
Not
really can't
gonna
explicitly fuck with you, but so far because you're not explicitly a follower of these specific words in this specific book.
Oh, I mean, when you put it like that, like yeah, like everybody makes that claim, and I don't think any of them are like correct. You know, me, I'm just a random black dude in 2024, but like people will go on the war over this. Like people have killed people over this. People have like even in modern times, like ostracized like the gay children, their trans children over this. So like I believe people think that's what it is, but like I don't. I think that's the problem. It's, and that's where all the like the division and like the pretty much pulling people apart, because like these are things like you can't substantiate faith with you know, like through evidence. Like it's pretty much like two diametrically opposed ideas. What you can do with faith is believe it. What you can do with faith is spread it. But what you can't do with faith is substantiate it in a demonstrable way that it's like, you know what? You said this, and now I'm gonna do that. Like even the Bible, like they kind of needed like, all right, bro, I ain't gonna believe you just cause. All right, fuck it. We gonna make a bush burn. Now do you believe me? But like nowadays, it's like, all right, okay, like just believe me. And I think there is a benefit to how people organize around church, and I believe that one thing is true. I think the brothers, the Hebrew Israelites, I think what they're able to do together is to some degree very, you know, honorable. Like, hey, like y'all believe something so much, y'all all on the same, you know, page. And, you know, I think it would be good to see something like that, like, you know, around a mythos for all people, black, everybody in between, to kind of like, hey, like the world is going a certain direction, the world's going a certain way. What can we all do? What can we all create together right now that is relevant to everybody, that can kind of help everybody and uplift everybody? But yeah.
So piggybacking off of that, I guess I'll ask y'all. Go ahead, Johnny.
Well, like it's there's not one true book. Like if we're open-minded people and we're being fair to everything, there's no way that it could be that all the answers could be in one book that was written by a human. Like there's no way that it could be. So you have to like collectively source your information. I feel like if you really gonna understand what's going on, you have to go and study Christianity. You have to go and study Islam, Judaism. You really have to go and figure it out using all of these different resources. And to say all the answers are just in one, there's ain't no way that's possible in like the world we live in. And I think that adds to the benefit of looking at all of them and looking at all religion as like one thing and studying the differences from there, seeing how the religions differ from each other. But it's all the same.
So it sounds like we're probably closer in agreement, where probably don't have to really ask the question, do we all have to agree on a religion to progress as a people? I imagine everybody's saying, nah, we don't, correct?
Yeah, no.
So I guess
I mean, it depends on the destination. Yeah, I would say so.
The natural branch to that question would be, so it implies the idea that common goals as a people are more important than religion? Question mark.
Ooh.
Common goal. I think your common goals informs what your religion is. You know, like not to this.
You think
this,
so?
Yeah, I think when you look at like Martin Luther, not like Martin Luther King, but Martin Luther, like he's him pretty much like, nah, this Catholic shit ain't working for me. And pretty much getting to the point where he started the Protestant movement, and now that like off branch, like a whole bunch of other things. Like, I think your worldview informs your religious like beliefs more than anything. You know, like that's why you have like these very progressive church that have like gay trans pastors preaching from the same Bible that a fundamentalist, like radical, like we're gonna show up to like veterans like funerals and
doesn't
like,
that disprove like your I guess like your thesis? Their worldview didn't dictate their religion.
No, because
their worldview would go against their religion inside like a quote unquote traditional sense. Because the Bible isn't explicitly.
When you look at like religion in the modern day sense, it is like more so than anything, you are informing what you are going to tolerate within the bounds of your religion. That's why like everyone who practices Islam is not a jihadist. I mean, even though jihad is not a bad word, everyone is not a jihadist. Everyone is in ISIS and Boko Haram and all this other shit and doing like no, that's not what they're doing at all. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you want that
progression of black people, because that's kind of where what it's pointed to, or the progression of any explicit community, is it better to have common goals or religion, like a agreed upon religion?
Well, I think that's what I was saying. Like, when it comes to like the black community, I don't think we all have the same end goal. I don't think we all have the same like race that we're running and the same destination that we're trying to get to. You know, I think, these conversations that we have every week is like FBA, tether this, go back to Africa, go back to get coconuts off of trees. Like,
but you don't think that there's like there is a, I guess in my opinion, it seems like there's a centralized idea that no matter what branch the tree is, I think the tree is the progression of black people. And sometimes like it ends up being these, like, some might say xenophobic, some might say bigoted, some might say like these really like just off-putting ways to getting to the goal. But I haven't heard anybody that's spoken against black people getting themselves into a better place. And that seems like the common goal of all of these things.
With what
I don't think they're all like just only to be divisive.
No, like with what you're saying, Q, like what you're saying is like the progression of black people. That is a broad, vague thing. And I think that means something different based upon the black people you're talking to. I think if you ask all five of us, like, all right, so what does that look like for you? Like, somebody's going to say, oh, that means, having a nuclear family and everybody making six figures. Somebody's going to say, oh, that means us returning back to like, Israel. Someone's going to say like, that's going to be us recognizing our Native American roots and getting like, building reservations or something like that. Like, I think everyone.
But the end goal usually is like social, economic, and moral. Like, I think everybody kind of agrees that getting black people inside a better space in those three categories. I don't know if anybody in the panel would disagree with that. Like, not explicitly the role. You're talking about like the role,
defining it. That's where the problem is. Like,
no, of course, but that's what I'm saying. Like that's where the divide is. That's what. But those are the branches. But like the root that everybody's like the tree that everybody's trying to get to is the progression, socio, economic, and morally. I think that those are the three things. Like, I don't think that many people disagree on that explicitly.
I think so. Maybe. Because like just by the definition, like America first, black first, like black Americans first, FBA first, like what I'm saying, like I'm not disagreeing with them, but like that is their like end goal. Like y'all hold your own nuts over there in Africa and the Caribbean. We're trying to get shit done here. So like the progression of all black people, no, it's the select black people that are here of a certain lineage. So like that's what I'm saying. Like I can't necessarily say that like whatever your end goal is going to determine your worldview, to determine the beliefs that you like subscribe to, and your actions. You know, like me, am I Pan African? No, I'm pretty much like, hey man, like I'm just here trying to take care of my family. Like that's the only thing I can control. That's the only thing I'm in charge of. But anything outside of
So
that,
I guess so. In general, your perspective on all things are fairly like really, really individualistic.
yeah, because at the end of the day, like that's all you really can control. You can't walk into a church and like you can be a part of a church. You can probably start a church, but what you can't do is like mass move everybody to how you exactly believe. Like everybody's trying to get something out of everything. It
But do
just
you
so
think that
happens that
there's
people
benefit to community for like the masses of people? Or
there's
do
a
you think
benefit.
everybody has like the I guess the ability to move completely as autonomous individuals and seek and find success from that? Or do you think that like there's a need for community to help guide through success?
I think there's a need for a community because, like the old African proverb, if you want to go far, run by yourself. If you want to go fast, run by yourself. If you want to go far, go together. And like I
Right.
said, like it all depends on what you, the individual, want to accomplish for yourself. And I think people kind of like, all right, I see what y'all doing over here. I agree with y'all. I like what y'all are doing. Y'all accept me. Let's get it done. But like that doesn't like I don't think black people aren't a monolith. I think if you poll the majority of black people, like everyone's gonna kind of be like they're gonna have a different idea. Like if you ask Thomas Sowell, that means getting rid of welfare. If you ask Ta-Nehisi Coates, that means getting reparations. If you ask like anybody anywhere, there's
Right,
always
but those are still like roads to the end goal. I think everybody still agrees on the end goal. Do you see what I'm saying?
I don't think so.
Like if you have the goal, if you have a common goal,
I think everybody is going to virtue signal like
okay,
like platitudes, but like if you walk everyone's like logical conclusion out to the final thing, like some people are damn near advocating for eugenics, and some people are damn near advocating for like a religious like stronghold on a fucking mountain somewhere. So it really depends on who you're talking to, and when you exercise what their world beliefs is to its most logical conclusion, that paradise for them may be somebody's hell. That's all I'm saying.
gotcha. So yeah, we've been inside like an ISO. We've been playing 1-on-1 for a little bit, so I'm gonna pass it around. But I'll ask you the question later. Who wants to take it? Are common goals better than a single religion?
I think we definitely need common goals.
Hold on. I was muted. I was gonna say, my bad, G. I just needed to get this one off. I just needed to get this one off. But like, absolutely, like common goals, like for a group of people, is better than religion because, like, look at how like nationality works amongst people, and how people will come together over nationality. Like that's a whole other grouping that's way more effective than religion. So I think like us as black people, we just need to figure out a new common goal that includes most of us, but that is clear enough for us all to see. But it doesn't necessarily have to be religion. Like religion has not been a clear enough goal to get all of us to where we need to go, just based on the statistics and what we see. So there has to be another common goal. I don't know what it is, but there has to be something else that's going to tie all of us together, from FBA and everything, the whole diaspora, to pull us to a better space. It's not religion. We've tried.
Yeah, I agree, right? And that's like, for me personally, in the kind of platform I'm trying to build, I focus on 5 F's that I feel like are common goals for a lot of people. Like
Right.
how like when it comes to family, friends, finances, freedom, and future, like why can't we all say get on the same page around these concepts, right? Like we don't have to be of the same religion to believe in family, to believe in quality friendships, to believe in economic stability, to believe that we have certain freedoms in a future, in on the horizon. So it's like the common goals can cut through a lot of noise, in my opinion, that religion, even amongst, say, the black, even as I'm listening to us on this panel, the black Christians, there's division. And like your experience as a 7-day Adventist, Johnny AME Zion, I'm more of a Southern Baptist background. I don't know about A Black's church background. I know there's some big backs in there, but I know. But
they gotta be Southern Baptist. They gotta be Southern Baptist.
They're probably Southern Baptists eating that good food after service and everything. You know what I'm saying? But I say to say like even amongst the black Christians, there's a lot of differences amongst like how black Southern Baptist versus AME and 7-day. So I feel like I've always been of the belief that religion is just divisive because it sort of forces you to pick a side just by nature, to say like, if you don't agree with me, then you're going to hell, and vice versa. So I like the idea of common goals that I don't want to say are no brainers, but it's like you meet an individual and they want to, and you say, well, you don't think family is important? It's like, why are we having a conversation? Like you don't think certain things are important, then why are we having these conversations? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I feel like the things that are important to all of us are the things that we actually, not just control, but like what creates our identity. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what's important to us, right? So to me, those common goals around like how we define ourselves, I think those are the things we got to figure out how to build around, because we are more alike than we are different when you look at the core elements of these variables.
Gotcha. And I guess let me ask another question to keep building. So with all that said, how important is religion on our society's progress, and has it actually held us back?
I think religion. Yeah, I think religion has been one of our biggest detriments. Honestly, like it's kind of similar to hip hop.
Oh, you think that hip hop's been one of our biggest detriments also?
I think hip hop's been a bigger detriment,
Oh,
a bigger
than
detriment. But
religion.
I think the black churches had its own role in being detrimental to the black community, just based on where, like you could take the leadership of the black church and the black religious groups now versus 60, 70 years ago, and it'd be obvious that these motherfuckers didn't have our best interests in hand. You can just look at the leadership of these groups and where it came from to where it is now. Yeah, them leaders kind of, it's not too many good leaders out there, and not too many people that are running these so-called institutions that are doing a lot to help us or doing it effectively enough.
A Black, how important is religion on society's progress, and has it held us back?
I think it's only as important as how many people subscribe to it. You know, if you got a lot of people that are a part of religion and subscribe to religion, then it's important. And even back with the common goals, like I don't absolutely believe religion is necessary for common goals. But if you have a large part of your population that subscribe to religion and you have a common goal you want to get out, I mean, traditionally it's been like, where do you go where large black people gatherings happen? It's a church or a mosque. Like, I need to get this message out. I need to go where people are receptive to hearing something, unless I'm not going to go to the club. I'm not going to go to, the basketball court. Where will people actually listen? And traditionally in our community, it's the church. So if we have a society where people are not going to church, people are not subscribing to religion, then it's not important. But if you have like a large percentage that do subscribe to it, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, it's like, well, let me just go talk to them where they at. The human infrastructure is already built, the platform is already there. Let me go in with this goal. What is our goal? Because the family, all of these things are very prominent in most religions and most churches and most mosques and things like that. So if we have like an overall new goal that Black people are going to all galvanize and get behind, where do we start to reach a lot of Black people at? And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the church or the mosque or the religious people, because that's where they're sitting, they're listening for instruction, and that's where the politicians go. That's where everybody go to campaign and start off, because that's where a lot of Black people at. If you in the South, a lot of people go to church. A lot of people subscribe to these things. I like to think of Black intellects and, are open-minded. And a lot of people from my ilk, we don't subscribe to a lot of these things. Or we're not in church every single Sunday, but a lot of people are. So if I had a goal, a real goal, I wouldn't be like discounting religion. I would just like meet them where they're at and try to speak to them there. As far as it holding us back, I mean, I think we spoke on that. Like currently, I think there's been an awakening, especially in our generation and younger, where I don't think it's holding us back as much, because most of us don't subscribe to it. A lot of people are kind of just finding things on their own. So I think in that sense, it's like, information is rampant now. There's misinformation as well, people being flooded with it. But I think now we live in a time where you can learn, you can see the world, you can see different thoughts and philosophies. So we are in this quote unquote age of Aquarius, this awakening time where I don't think religion is really holding us back no more. A lot of people do it, I feel like, this as a safety measure, because that's what they know. It's a lot of it is fear based. I gotta go to church, but at the same time, I can respect it. Like, I got my issues, but I'll go to my mom's church. I'll sit with her. I'm not about to stand up and go back and forth with the preacher, like, because at the end of the day, I don't really care. Like, I care.
Hey, Black.
Yeah.
Hey, Black. You don't think a lot of the like and like individually, like I've had my individual beefs with the church, but individually, I don't got like too much like problem with the church. But you don't think that the message they push as a collective and like as a whole, like even just the whole, like you can go back to like Joe Biden and the crime bill in 1994 and how like it was a lot of Black pastors that really wanted that, and we see how that affected the Black community. You don't think stuff like that has, like, outside of all of our individual relationships and experiences with the Black church, but you don't think stuff like that as a whole has held us back as a people, just collectively? Because I get it on the individual level. Yeah, I love my church. Like individually, my church has made me who I am, and I learned a lot of great things just based on being in the church as a kid and growing up in it. But like as a whole, like and just like on a collective level, institutionally, like has this thing been good for us as Black people? And that's tough. Like I don't see how it has been.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's somewhat subjective, because there's so many different examples of good and bad that people can draw from. That's why I asked the question earlier of like, well, what hasn't let us down? What has pushed us forward? What can I compare the Black church to say like, well, it didn't do what this did, or it didn't do what that did? Like, I don't really see, too much that hasn't been a detriment as a whole to Black people.
I ain't gonna lie. I mean, but what about like the Joe Biden 1994 crime bill? It's millions, and it's like 1 million plus people like incarcerated, just like strictly based off the effects of that one thing that was supported by the Black church. You could even go back,
but Johnny, wait, Johnny, like in large part, like the 94 crime bill was also voted in by Black people, because at the time, during that time, like crime was like not bad, but crime was rampant, and that was a major concern back during them times. So it's like we can't just blame the Black church. Like I said, like the Black church is a reflection of the people that are going to church. Like, so if the Black church is letting Black people down, then it's like, how? Like the church isn't like this like separate entity outside of Black people. The Black people who go to those churches are informing the beliefs, the principles, and the values that they all ascribe to.
That's not no. The church is informing the people that go to that church of their beliefs. It's not it's not a collective thing. The pastors,
like Johnny, the reason why I'm shaking my head no.
Hey, can I respond to it, Alex? A lot of these pastors They have agendas. They get paid to have certain agendas. They get paid to push certain things. When somebody from the outside, some of these politicians, they know that you have a mega church, or they know that you have this following, they're gonna come and push you. Why you think TD Jakes is in the trouble? Like in Creflo Dollar, we see that these people are exploitative. The leaders of
Yeah,
the
but
black
like
church in our
what I'm
community are
saying, Johnny, is like
exploitative.
you're looking at it backwards.
I'm looking at the leaders being exploitative.
But that's what I'm saying, Johnny. You're looking at it backwards. Like TD Jakes is allowed to do that because he has a congregation that allows him to do that. That's what I'm saying. Like if you we go to any church, there are examples of
But you
great
don't think
churches.
manipulation goes into getting a congregation? Like I get it, he has a congregation. If he's manipulative, is he manipulative? Whether he it's
But
not,
like Johnny,
people can
like
be easily manipulated. You act like
I
that's
hear
not
what
a
you're
thing.
saying, Johnny, but the reason what I'm saying, I have yet to see a black person this by mistake wind up in a Korean church. I have yet to see somebody who's a practicing Jew end up in a synagogue, like a mosque by accident. Like you are walking into these buildings of worship to get something, and when you get there, you are signing up for whatever you're getting. So we can't just blame
So if
pastors and
manipulation is part of that, you just got to
no,
be
Johnny. Like
manipulated.
what I'm saying is, black people have agency, and whatever you're getting out of church, that is all. Like Johnny, we have to start understanding that. Like sometimes people just want to go to church to wear their hat. Sometimes people go into church for me as a kid to be a Boy Scout.
And sometimes people go to church because that's what everybody in their life told them that was right.
But Johnny,
And
like the same
that's
time,
why a
like
lot of people go to
there's
church.
people who go to
Outside of what
churches
you
who
talking about, a lot
change
of people go to
denominations. There are people who don't go to the same church that their big mama went to. What I'm saying is, after the end of the day, like everyone has agency, and we can't keep pawning all the woes of the black community off on the few people in these pulpits. They don't have Johnny, they don't have that much control over anything.
But do you think that they have an influence?
You ain't been in the church like
I
me,
think
bro.
this is a big difference, maybe because like in the Southern black churches, pastors are often viewed in this deity way that's not healthy. Maybe that's not your traditional experience, Alex, but in many of the black churches that I'm familiar with, the pastor is like the mascot of the church, if you will. Like they are the brand. People go like the pastor becomes the face of the organization. And the way that the congregation will support a pastor in the black community is it's an unparalleled support that I don't really see in other places. Personally, the way that a black church get behind a black pastor, that is some support that I like. I mean, blind support. Even when that pastor then slept with other women, you gotta forgive him. You know, it's like
I ain't trying to. Yeah, bro.
And I don't even want to get on the white churches and them pedophiles or them pedos over the in the Catholic and stuff like that. But
trying to hit
in the black church specifically, man. Pastors, I think, at least in my experience, I have to disagree with you, Alex. They do have this, this just pedestal that they kind of sit on.
It's an oversized influence,
and they do have a crazy impact on their congregation. They can influence their thoughts, their beliefs, how they vote, like how they tie, like. They influence their congregation, maybe not everyone in the congregation. And it's like, I think you're giving human beings, unfortunately, like I'll say this respectfully, too much credit. Everybody can't think for themselves, bro. This is my point earlier to say, like,
well,
some niggas,
most people don't think for themselves.
And most people don't know how. Like, I know individuals, for whatever reason, if they're not a devoted Christian, they don't know how to not live a life of crime, if you will. It's binary. It's like I'm either all in the church or I'm all in the streets.
Walk with me, G, real quick. Like for me to believe
Alex, you about to take him on a walk. Let me do some quick housekeeping. So
take
first, everybody like, comment, subscribe, hit the like button, make sure that you share this. This is a great conversation. We're kind of digging into some of the weeds, and we'll continue doing exactly that. We're about to walk with John now. We're about to walk with Alex, actually. But
Like,
hold on, wait.
yeah.
Call-in link will be dropping into the chat really soon. We'll love to hear your perspective as we start and we're building into the title question. But right now we're walking with Alex.
And hit that super chat, hit that super thanks.
Hit it.
I guess to illustrate my point, the church to me isn't the only institution that we have that we all organize around and we all kind of like subscribe to. For instance, like if you have children, you are governmentally mandated to make sure that they asses go to class like the majority of the year. And even with that government mandate, even with like your taxes going to pay for it, let your child be in that classroom learning something that you don't want them to learn. You're like, oh, fuck no. Come out. We gonna homeschool you. We're gonna put you in a different school. We're gonna do that.
Not everybody can do that, though.
Hold on. This is what I'm saying. There is at least, like, we can at least acknowledge there is agency. Like, if you're a parent who actually gives a fuck, who actually cares about what your child learns, you're gonna make sure that they're in an environment where they're gonna learn what you want them to learn.
That's unfair.
Now I think that's really elitist.
That's unfair.
No, it's not elitist. Because like even if you don't have the means to, you're still gonna do the supplemental work of like, I don't know what bullshit they're teaching you in class.
Sometimes
but
you're spending your time getting the means, bro.
Hold on, y'all losing the trees for the forest. What I'm saying is there's multiple institutions that we all have to participate in, like compulsory, that we're like, whatever. I'm gonna resist this bullshit because I don't believe in that. Okay. So I'm going back to the church now. Ask a Christian, have you ever just stumbled into a Masonic temple? No. Have you ever just stumbled into some Satan ritual? No, you haven't. Because you have agency and you're like, I'm a Christian. Not only am I a Christian, I am a Methodist and I'm going to my Methodist church. I'm Pentecostal. I'm going to my Pentecostal church.
That's not
so like does agency just like get dumped out the door as soon as
you walk in? But do you believe in indoctrination also?
Do I believe in indoctrination? Yes, I do believe that you can be indoctrinated, but
do you think that most people are indoctrinated into whatever they indoctrinated into whatever their parents believe and don't really question much outside of that?
I think people like if you're just born into things, like there might be a certain level of like, okay, like what are the chances that you're gonna be able to break through this echo chamber? I do agree with you, but it happens. It does happen.
Oh no! I think that it happens. I still think that it's like probably the minority.
It's a small. I think you're giving people too much credit, bro. From the standpoint of,
like, I don't know. I don't think most people question like religion, faith, any of those things outside of what's directly in front of them and what's close. Outside of like maybe like this small box.
I'm about to end this man's whole career.
We have like
end this man's whole career.
Okay, go ahead.
Y'all keep saying like it's a small minute thing, but like I've been researching, like there is a decline in like religiousness all over the Western civilization. So like it's like all this indoctrination that all these past generations were like, why is it not working on people now?
But it is still working. It is still, just because there's a decline.
So Alex, I think where we're at, this is probably the best time to kind of like throw into this question. And I'm about to drop the call in link, but you kind of hit on it. So I'll allow us to kind of expand on it. Why is the younger generations leaving religion and spirituality?
Because of technology and the information age has
Pornhub
the world as we know it. It's like we went from the Dewey Decimal System to Google, and like it's crazy, like how much it can change conversations when you have all the information at the tip of your fingers. You have to become more creative. Like you have to change the way you have conversations before, when it's in the information age. When in the 1990s, if you had information, you could talk to people crazy because they didn't have that information. Now that thing don't exist. You got to be creative, and you got to assume everybody kind of knows what you know, and it has to be based on logic, creativity. There's certain things that you have to work out of into.
I agree. And and like to Alex's point here, it's like there is a clear decline, but there's also still a very clear, strong presence of Christianity in America. Like it's the Bible Belt still exists, these churches still exist, so people have a stronghold on it. Me personally, I think young folks are not as involved with the church today compared to past times, because like we don't have to, like back in the day, there wasn't many safe havens for Black folks to go congregate, if we're being honest. Like you had to lean on religious institutions, these HBCUs. Like we had to have our own stuff. And today, like post integration and all these other things, I think that Black folks don't feel a need to come, like, you know, the church was like a safety place for a lot of folks. Whereas today, I don't feel like Black folks are seeking that same sort of safety from society the way that they were in the past, from a Black community perspective. Like they also are busier than what they were in the past. Like when you look at the opportunities and how successful Black folks are today versus in the past, the types of opportunities we have, like I think a lot of just that grind for success and all that stuff, it pulls you away from going to church on Sundays, being involved in the community, because you're so busy living life, working, putting food on the table. So I feel like that there is a clear decline. Part of that is just due to just the natural order of how things have shifted. But I think the other piece to it is that just because there's been a decline doesn't necessarily mean that the institution is ineffective, because it still has a very, very strong presence. And we still refer to America as a Christian country, you know, at the end of the day. So, you know, as long as those things remain true, I think the other piece to it too is that, like, when you are a Black person in a church, like, you don't really question the pastor. There's like an authority there. I'm not saying that everybody falls under this, but there is like this mindset that what they are saying is the word. You see what I'm saying? Like, what they said, that's the interpretation. That's the good word. I'm not going to question the pastor. And I know people who will condemn an individual for quote unquote, you know, how Black folks, but they live in worldly, doing things that aren't of God, and they'll condemn these people. But then when their own pastor fits that same description, they'll turn the other cheek and make the excuses, right? So it's like there's some sort of superiority complex in a lot of Black churches where the congregation puts that pastor on a pedestal, and they treat them in a way where, like I said, they get different treatment, and they almost like blindly follow their advice or their interpretations without much pushback and agency. And I don't think the average churchgoer has that same mindset that you're speaking about, Alex. In my experience, that's not the average churchgoer. The average churchgoer isn't going to ask, like, where is my money going to when I they're going to pay their tithes religiously. They're going to show up. They're going to do the different responsibilities. They're going to be, you know, oftentimes good people, like in the community, doing what they think is in their best interest. But the pastor himself is like, you know, I just feel like that is an issue in itself, and that stops people from thinking freely because they put so much faith in this man or woman who is the pastor of the church.
Got it. Any other commentary? Hit the again, call-in links. Hit it. We just had one in the back end. But who hasn't Alex? Or did you kind of finish off your statement answering the question, correct?
I don't think I got the chance to.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of like maybe under the same understanding, but like I think that the influence of the church is not non-existent, but it definitely, like in my lifetime, it's definitely like dwindling. It's definitely becoming less effective. And I say, like, the purpose of religion is to band people together around the same beliefs for to pretty much inform the best way to live. I think the Bible was written in a time where, like, it made sense for them. Like, if you read the Bible, it's not written in the modern context. It was written in the context for the time they were in. And even something as recent as the Latter Day Church of the Mormons, like, their Bible is more relevant and more written in the same time. Same thing with the Seventh Day Adventist Church. I think my whole thing is, like, if people are going to be religious, why not make a new religion? You know, like, why not make something centered around, like, what is the current problems that people are facing today, the current issues that people are facing today, and build a whole, like, belief system around how we all can kind of band together and do that.
I agree.
I think in short of that happening, that's why I kind of just I pretty much just march to my own beat. Like, I listen to everybody. I try to hear what everybody's saying, but ultimately, I just rely on, like, the modus operandi that everybody else uses. Like, everyone is making judgment decisions about what's good for them, what's good for society, and for the speck of time that we're on this planet and, like, we exist in the universe. We're trying to enforce our will upon the entire world around us. I'm just honest about it. Like, I believe what I believe because I feel that it helps me, it helps my family, it helps propel us forward. And anybody who doesn't believe that's what they're also doing with extra steps, like, more power to you,
No, I get it. I think that.
Hey, somebody getting called out in the chat.
Oh yeah, that is the call out right there.
Hey, hit the link. Whatever bot in the chat, hit the link. You got called out by Kofi.
But yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, and I think that probably the majority, if not all of the panel, operates on that. I don't know if, like, the masses of people in general operate off of that though. But I think that that's the circular conversation where you might be giving people too much credit, and in which being around enough people, sometimes you notice, like, where certain things that you do are an outlier to what a majority of people tend to do.
So, Q, let me ask you, which one do you think has more of a stronghold, secular values or religious values? Like if you just like, we pull 10 random people, like, what are they going to be doing right now? Are they going to be listening to rap music, like playing Call of Duty, or are they reading their Bible, reading their Quran, being on their Hadim and all that stuff? I really do think it's the opposite. I think, like, religion is something that you participate when it's convenient, but you're a part of the secular world all the time, and I think more so than anything, that's the real religion that no one acknowledges, but, like, we're all secularists. Like, we're all, like, ascribing to things in bits and pieces, but I think people's worldviews is more, like, determined by what they believe secularly than what they actually believe, when it comes to the religious text that they subscribe to. So
I guess explicitly, if we're speaking, like, younger generation, I think that that's really, really true. I think that there has been a divergence from a lot of the things that older generations based their shit upon, especially religion. And whether you say, like, a lot of it has to do with, like, the information age or not, but yeah, I don't explicitly disagree with you. I think that if you want to call it the religion of secularism, a lot of people are caught up in that. To me, I think it's like the pursuit of the pleasure principle, not more times than not. People do what's easy and what's gratifying, and that in itself can be its own religion. So I don't disagree on that point.
I'm just saying,
I guess,
like,
what was
people
the
know
you
more of
were
the
building
words
that
of Boss
text.
Mandilo than, like,
you muted.
Yeah. What I was saying is, like, I think people know more words to Glorilla song or Boss Mandilo song or Sexy Red song than actual Bible verses. And this is like Christians, like, not to, like, call out my baby sister. I love her.
But I
like,
guess you're making these statements so there is a big secular impact. are you saying that to say that there is no, like, I guess what is the overall question that you're answering inside?
Well, my
inside
overall
making these
question is,
statements?
I think your secular beliefs inform your religious beliefs. Like, if you believe that Black people are this, then you're not gonna pop up in like some like fundamentalist right wing like white church. No, you're not. If you believe that great gay people have the right to be married, you're not gonna pop up in some anti-LGBT church. That's what I'm saying. Like, you may be Christian, but before those Christian beliefs like your secular beliefs supersede your Christian beliefs or any other beliefs you have.
I can see your point. I think that they're like, they ends up being like his own like balance where even if I guess like you're saying like your secular beliefs inform like which version of Christianity or whatever you're going to. I still think that your belief in God and the fact that you believe in that thing makes you seek out the fact that you have to find something that identify like a religious base that identifies with your secular lifestyle. So like that's what I'm saying. Like it's one of them chicken before the eggs type thing. But I get what you're saying. Nonetheless, we have one of our favorites. He's back.
Big
He's
dog
back.
in the house.
I see him in the chat calling people out. We have Kofi with us. He has, it looks like it's a brand new background picture explicitly for this conversation. And Kofi, I'm gonna give you 2 minutes on the clock. Let us know what we got right, what we got wrong. Yeah, just your overall opinion from the conversation so far.
I'm pretty much in agreement with everybody. Everyone said a lot of things that was extremely true. I don't think anyone here, I mean, I used to be a Christian myself, I'm agnostic. I don't think anyone here is disagreeing with anything that anyone is saying. We all know what it is. We used to be indoctrinated. We're no longer indoctrinated. So we kind of see what things for what they are. I mean, I kind of want to get on here since you had the Hebrew Israelites on there. I mean, they weren't really saying anything new. I mean,
we
I
see you in
used
the
to,
chat too. You was populating the chat.
yeah, because I mean, they got at me on I think sometime today because I was coming on because look, like one thing I'm a lover of discussing politics, Black history, and religion, right? And me, I used to be a diehard Christian. You know what I'm saying? Being here in New York, they got Black Hebrew Israelites all over the place, so it's easy to bump into a Black Hebrew Israelite and just debate them. So most of the things those cats were doing on there, it's like so old and just rinse and repeat. They weren't really saying anything new. Were they genuine what they were saying? I believe they believe and they were genuine what they're saying and had good intentions, but them trying to coming like, oh, I have a new message for Black people to liberate Black people is like, nah, bro, that's been there, done that. It's old. But most of all, I feel religion has its place. Now, if you're a person that's down and out, downtrodden, let's say, hey, I needed something to keep my head above water. And I found Jesus. That is perfectly fine if it gets you to a better place. If you were on drugs or it made you a better person, that's fine. But Christianity and Islam and the Hebrew faith in its totality does more harm to the Black community than good in the Black community, and we can all see that as clearly. That's clearly evident. It has done more harm than good. And I don't know if it was G that said it or Alex that said that. I think it was Alex. He said, hey, why don't we just create just a new religion? Just create something that's for us for this day and age that works. And I think that's where we need to evolve to get something different, not the same old stuff.
But that sounds like community goals more than a religion, right?
True. It does. I mean, I guess I'm using the word religion for lack of a better word. But really in its totality, we don't really need religion. Like, I'm a Garveyite, so pretty much you just leave your religion and anything as people that will divide us. You just need to just galvanize and come together as, hey, look, we're black people, we're facing the same enemy, and this is our goal. After that, do whatever. You know what I'm saying? Y'all could be whatever, say whatever, and be whatever you want, but that needs to be our goal. Religion is just, I feel, is just a distraction. And in the day of age and information, a lot of people is finding out that it's not what my grandmother told me. It's not what my great grandmother told me. This is what it is. And you know, for me, everything they told me to run away from, I ran to, and that's why I'm no longer a Christian. Told you to run away from blackness. Told you to run away from Africanness. Told you to run away from that voodoo. Told you to run away from all that other stuff. And I'm like, oh, I see why they told me to run away from that, because there's power in your own spiritual system that African people, us as African people, had for hundreds of thousands of years. So that's my thing.
Gotcha. Fellas, any response?
Not really.
Okay. All right. So while I have y'all me and y'all three here, I'll ask the overall, the quote unquote like pinned question, and get y'all response, and we can kind of riff from there. Can religion save Black America?
Nope.
No.
No. It hurts us more than it saves us.
Like on an individual, like community level, it might save certain communities, but those communities pretty much are already going to be saved anyway. To save the entire country, I don't think. I think if you walk into one black church, you walked into one black church. I think they're two massively different to say that they're all kind of on the same page.
So, and I guess like a better context for you to answer this. So, what you tend to hear often, whether it's like with Black people, whether it's with like a lot of the right, it is a appeal for people to return back to religion, and the return back to religion being almost like a cure-all, solve-all. Heard the same thing with speaking with like the Israelites, where the idea is like, if we can get all Black people to convert, then like that solves all our problems. My question was to them, all right, so once everybody convert, what's step one? Because of like, now you just have a bunch of people that's converted, but you still don't have any economic base, any XYZ.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that I think that they answered it well, but you know, that's just me. But nonetheless, like that's the background to the question, if that gives you like better context.
Well, in that context, like no, I don't think if that's what religion is going to be, the end all be all, like any modern religions that I know of, no. I think that's going to be, honestly, like the way America is set up, the way the world is set up, it's a capitalist system, and it's, you know, eat or be eaten. So ultimately, everyone is operating on an individual basis. You might find some unity with people who are like-minded, but ultimately, you're trying to get to your destination. So to think that, like, ultimately, I think the one universal thing that I can say is Black people individually want to be free. Black people individually want to aspire to their most ideal and most fulfilled life. And in order to get there, you can't depend on anybody else to do that for you. You can't depend on anybody selling you something to get that for you. It takes the real work of you sitting down with yourself and saying, what do I want out of life? How am I going to get there? And what steps do I have to take? So if you're waiting for somebody to like prescribe you, like, hey man, like I don't know, stand on one foot and, you know, throw some water at something. Like I don't want to like disparage anybody's religion, but like, let's say like that's what someone's telling you to do. That has nothing to do with like you wanting to go to school to, you know, learn cybersecurity, or you wanting to like, you know, save up a couple dollars to buy a septic tank truck to start your own business. Like only you knows what's going to set you free. I think as far as like this group project that people think that we're all participating in, bro, nobody wants you free more than you. So I'll just leave it at that.
I get it. Alex is doubling down on individualism. I feel it. Nothing wrong with it.
Well, I think the reason why the Hebrew Israelites didn't give you a good answer is because they're always stuck. Their goal is an unachievable goal. Their goal is a Christian tenant. They say they're Hebrews, but they're Christians that are Hebrews because they were just regular, like Jewish, so-called Jewish Hebrews or Israelite. They wouldn't believe in Jesus. The fact that they believe in Jesus means that which they're New Testament
I don't know
Hebrews.
why I didn't put that together. That is actually really, really
Yeah.
You know what? On a part two, I'm gonna ask him, do you believe that Jesus was resurrected? Because that's
they were using Jesus.
But okay.
So
you can believe in Jesus and be Jewish, but you can't believe he was resurrected. I think that's kind of how it works, right?
Well, if you're a Jew, you either believe. My understanding, you either believe that Jesus was a real person, but he was the illegitimate Messiah, or you just believe he's completely fictional.
Oh, I hadn't heard the fictional one. Okay, all right, got you.
Or like he wasn't, if you believe in this story, like Pontius Pilate was right to do what he doing because Jesus was no longer, he wasn't the real Messiah that we were waiting on. But with the Hebrews, you got New Testament Hebrews and Old Testament Hebrews. The Old Testament Hebrews just believe in the first original books, then because they're like the Hebrew Hebrews because they don't believe in the validity of Jesus the Messiah. Then you got the New Testament Hebrews. They take the Old Testament and the New Testament, which speaks of Jesus, his works, his miracles, and his resurrection. So it sounds like
those aren't like the real real Jewish people. Well, I guess that's what you were saying overall.
Well, that's what camp of Hebrews you're dealing with. They're all getting things out the same book, and they have a different.
Oh my bad, you're saying Hebrews. I keep mixing that with Jewish. It's my apologies.
No, that's all right. It's kind of like the same thing. But
we do have a new guest that has popped in. I'd love to get your perspective, and then we'll continue along the lines of the question I had just asked. The soil. Let us know what we got right, what we got wrong. If you have an answer to the prompted question, we'd love to hear your opinion. You got 2 minutes on the clock. Talk to us.
I'm really just trying
to. You gotta turn your mic up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but you're a little low on the voice.
You're real low.
Is that better?
That's way better.
Yes, sir.
All right, for sure. What's happening, y'all? I was trying to get on my other shit, man, but I really ain't hear no progress, man. The church, we ain't been messing with the church. Nah, I mean, like the convo kind of redundant, man. We don't really mess with the church like that.
Okay.
As far as the men, anyway, the women, they, where I'm from, like everybody look at the preacher like a pimp anyway. Ain't nothing really major. That's just his game.
Mm-hmm.
Where you from?
Originally, I grew up in the D in the Chi and shit like that.
Okay.
Yeah, my people come from Mississippi, South Carolina. What up, though? Shit, I can't call it Joe. Get your ass in the car. All that. But yeah, man. To me, it'd be kind of funny, man, when I hear like people from different places. They really think. I really don't think they know us like that. It just be kind of funny. Seem like they be behind on the times a little bit.
Can you give an example about what you're saying?
Yeah, like the church, like what Alex was talking about, right? Like we really rely on that. We ain't relied on that since the civil rights type of deal. We know that shit failed us. So our people. I'm from the '80s and shit. Our people really ain't messed with that since then, like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when they talking about that's some type of monumental type of thing that we run to, that ain't true.
I dig it. Okay. So I guess so innately with where you're at, that means obviously you don't believe that religion can save Black America. Do you still believe that it is necessary in any faction?
Religion? No. The morals that we operate on, people try to use the Bible to make it religious, but it's not really that. All that church stuff is, they only read like one verse and then they get on rambling. So it's not really about that. The laws, the morals, and all the other stuff. It's kind of what we do naturally. Everybody else try to latch on to it to make a little money with it. Think it's necessary though, yeah. Other than if we don't rely on that, I think then we end up like everybody else.
Okay.
So I got a question. So the soil, do you consider yourself someone who believes in a higher power? Are you on the atheist side of things, agnostic? I'm just curious to hear your own opinion on that.
Yeah, definitely I believe in the higher power. I believe in the Most High. I'm gonna be accurate with you.
Okay,
But
word.
yeah, I believe in a higher power, you know what I mean? I don't
So does that
get off
mean you
on
believe in the
side,
word
like,
of the book, like the Bible?
yeah, I believe, I believe in what's real in the book. If you read it, you know what's real and what's fake. I look at it like a history book. And I can kind of see when you read the Bible, you got to kind of look at like one of your bras, right? Like when she didn't cheat, if somebody else didn't hit her ass, you got to know when it's fucking up. You got to be on it. You know what I mean? If that makes sense to you.
I'm making sense.
Yeah. So if you missing that, then you're gonna be lost in the sauce.
So what part of the Bible is real?
When it's talking about he got a special people, when he's talking about what not to do, what you shouldn't be doing, what's immoral,
So
don't try to kill your brother. Shit, don't just
Oh.
the normal shit that you know what not to do. We learn to be like everybody else, and that's when we get to fucking up, trying to make everything else make sense.
Do you take it as far as believing that black people are cursed people?
I think we curse ourselves when we try to focus on everybody else but us. I think we've been doing that.
Okay, but not like the explicit Israelite where cursed and like the reason that we was in slavery and all that stuff. You're not inside that.
Are you familiar Are you familiar why they said we got cursed?
Was that it's usually dealing with the Israelites going against God's word. Like the Israelites went against God's word a bunch of times inside the Old Testament. So I can't remember exactly which one it was.
I got you.
Like Baal, maybe it was,
if you understand that basic concept, what did they do by going against God's word?
Oh, so all right. So let me backtrack. Like I'm not explicitly like a well-versed Christian. I didn't grow up Christian at all. So
gotcha.
I guess I'm more so I would be asking you to explain out your perspective.
I'm gonna make it quick. What we did was we looked at everybody else and tried that shit when it wasn't good for us, and it ain't been good to this day. And us listening to other people, that ain't good for us either. We sitting here a whole lot of time trying to make it make sense while people trying to program us to be like them when they trying to be like us. It's kind of redundant at this point.
Gotcha. So I guess, but to say all that to say, so that means you do believe that black people, and it sounds like from the history of maybe that's all the way back to Israel, from not trying to be themselves, have been cursed from trying to copycat others. Is that what you're saying? Help me understand.
Yeah. So basically, when we fell off, even though if you read the script, they gave him a king, but that's what we fucked up at. We wanted a king because everybody else had a king over us. And
Gotcha.
right now,
just I thought it was because of Cain and Abel, and
or Adam and Eve.
How you figure that though? How you figure that came from that?
Because in the first thing when God said not to eat the fruit of knowledge, because you wanted Adam and Eve to be dumb, right? So moment they ate the fruit of knowledge, and God came, they hid behind the bush, and God said, why are you hiding behind the bush? He says, you're naked. How do you know that you're naked? He said, well, we ate of the fruit of good and evil, or the fruit of knowledge, right? So he cursed Adam and Eve. He cursed Adam and Eve. He says, for that, you had immortality. I'll take away your immortality. Eve demonizing the woman, right? Because you
said demonizing the woman.
Yes, because she's the bad person in this scenario, because she was the first one to eat the apple. Yes or no? And then Adam ate the apple.
All right. So yeah, what you're saying is right. So let me make it easy for you, right? So I'm glad you brought that example up. And in that example that you're talking about, that still was us listening to somebody else programmed in our own shit. The difference with that is he programmed the bitch to get to us. And but to this day we still weak because of the broad. You know what I mean? It's kind of fucked up.
So again, so we're in agreement. So you're demonizing a woman because you're calling a
Not
woman a bitch.
demonizing her, you know, she just you know.
Brother, you just did. You just called the woman a bitch, and you just reason why she's in here. So if there was a woman on this panel, and I think this is why there's more black women in the black church. As a little kid, I always wonder why there's so many women here. These women are married, and they have husbands, but this church is full
but they
of
fucking
women.
the preacher, man.
And I think
and
I think the reason for that is since you go into Sunday school, they tell you, hey, about Adam and Eve, and all throughout the book, from Eve all the way to Delilah, not until you go to the New Testament, you get to Mary, you find a woman that's worthwhile or worth something. But all through the Bible, the woman has been mischievous, deceitful, sneaky. It's a very sexist book. Right, and we're in agreement with that. So that's why,
like from like
Lot
and his daughters, Noah and his daughters, like now you bring it up. Yeah, I never thought of it that way. Like I think
I'm gonna try to help y'all both though, because y'all kind of on the same page, right? What it comes down to is this: he lost control of his situation, and she started listening to somebody else.
But God gave her free will.
That fruit, no, he didn't. That fruit. He gave Adam reign over the world, and he told him to hold it down. He listened to his woman and lost it all. That's what happened. And she was listening to another nigga. The forbidden fruit was somebody else's theology, mental state, whatever it was. He said that you could be gods. She bought that shit. She brought it to him, and he bought it.
And they were gods. And they were gods because remember, God wants you to be freaking idiots, right? Because he said you ate from the tree of good and evil, the tree of knowledge. At the same time, God gave us free will. So if you believe God is omniscient, if you believe God is omniscient, if you believe God is omniscient, you know that God knew what was going to happen before it happened. So all that sounds like it's a setup that God
knew what it was.
He
knew what it was when he asked for a woman. That's our weakness. Look, check it out. Even like with the think about everything that's been happening.
I'm gonna give y'all about 1 minute left on this conversation.
This is not about a woman thing. I'm talking about even down to like the food stamp, whatever that shit is. They use a black woman to be the face of it, and it turned into our thing. If you think about how they got over here on this land, they had to get down with our women to get a piece of the land, to take over the land. She's always ran off like that. So what I'm trying to tell you is this: y'all come over here the same way, and most of y'all come over here getting a green card trying to fuck on our women. Ain't nothing changed,
brother. What does that have to do with what we're talking about?
We're talking about
you're all over the place. You sound like a woman hurt you. That's what you sound like right now. To keep it real, since you want to get personal.
I'm talking about you don't know what's going on. That's all. Anyway, what's the next question?
Hey. So we got to do a person into the chat. Shout out to one of our favorites. We got Kamu tapping in from South Africa.
Kamu, what's up?
I would love to get your perspective, your thoughts on what you've heard so far today. I seen you chimed in a little bit in the chat. So can religion save black people?
Yo, how's it, gents? Absolutely not. We have to check how we got ourselves into this. Firstly, the model and the type of religion that we practice today, either Islam or Christianity, mostly Christianity, it was imposed on us. And it came as a result of conquest to most of our communities. So religion has never, ever been a solution for Black struggle. But however, I would not be that naive and annihilate all the progresses and characters that came from religion to sort of like help us. Talking of people like Nat Turner, we've never had anyone like him. it's only Ned Turner. Imagine 400, I can even say 500 years ago, we only had one character that had balls to challenge the system using religion. That was Ned Turner. From Ned Turner, we had guys talking about nonviolence. We had guys talking about unity with the enemy. We had guys talking about forgiveness. Basically, what I'm saying is we had men who lacked balls. And as a result, that did nothing for us, to be quite honest. So religion, for me, is like education. It prepares men, black men specifically, to be docile and cowards.
What kind of men came after Nat Turner?
Panels.
Was it us or somebody else?
Sorry, say that again.
The men that you said got weak, Nat Turner is one of us. What people came in and got us weak? We got Stokely Carmichael. We got a couple of people, but who?
Stokely, what was a Christian? Was pushing Christianity?
I'm just asking what people, man.
No, I'm saying there's no character like Ned Turner who had the balls to challenge the system. After it was Ned Turner, and then that was it.
Okay, so what people got us weak over here?
White people?
Yeah, I guess like if I'm gonna try to answer the question, he spoke towards people like the nonviolence movement. So that maybe that will be MLK. What else did you say? Like you use different wording when you talked about how religion impacted black people, and it sounded like you was pointing towards the civil rights movement, correct? Kamu. So what other things did you say? You said nonviolent, and what else?
Yeah, I was just saying nonviolence, and here in South Africa we had a guy called Desmond Tutu. He was a bishop. That guy was talking about forgiveness. He was talking about being civil with
Desmond Tutu.
Yeah, Al Captain. Yeah, Jesse Jackson's. You know what I'm saying? So those guys, bro, like come on, man. It's they promote being docile and being coward, quite frankly. So that's what we got from religion mostly, other than Ned Turner.
But we did mention earlier, like Nat Turner is definitely like a famous rebellion, but there were a lot of slave rebellions in the United States that didn't get the, say, recognition or press that Nat Turner got for his rebellion.
Nat Turner said, God told me that
Come on, you got it.
Okay, well, Harriet Tubman, yes, Queen Mother Harriet Tubman, but I'm talking about black men.
Yeah, are you suggesting that was the only rebellion, the Nat Turner?
No,
Well, you think he was the only slave?
That was the only form of masculine, black masculine, character, like, yeah, rebellion, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And there was more than that, is what I'm just letting you know. There was more, but Nat Turner, it's just like Rosa Parks wasn't really the first one to be like, I'm not getting on the back of the bus, but she gets the credit. You see what I'm saying? Nat Turner is not the only leader of a slave rebellion, not the only black man to lead a slave rebellion in the United States either. I'm just letting you know.
Is the brother saying that black is us and not everybody else?
The point I'm making is countless slave rebellions in the United States. It's countless. Not all has been reported.
I get that, but I'm saying Nat Turner specifically used religion to fulfill his mission. All these other ones were coming in the name of, black progress. We're coming in the name of, community, what. But Nat Turner specifically used religion.
Wait, real quick, Kwame. Like, do you think that the most efficient means of change is through violence?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Gotta
Yeah,
No,
sure.
like if we're just
Niggas
like
on the
looking,
same
like
page
if we're
about that
looking at
one,
like
boy.
the end goal of like
we got here through
achieving-
violence. How do we
hold
get
on,
here
hold on,
not
wait,
violence?
of achieving your goal, do you think the most efficient way to do that is through violence or through
Well, for
like
us, we got here through violence. The only way out is through violence, brother. If you look at any substantive gains or measurable gains that we made since our fall from greatness, it was only through violence.
are you saying that like throughout the entire diaspora and everywhere, like there isn't any achievements being gained through like understanding?
Well, name a place.
No, it's
None?
a
Okay.
facade. It's not a like us. Nelson Mandela here. At first, he was violent. He went to jail. He came out non-violent. He got us fake freedom here. You understand? So it's negotiate.
You're breaking up, brother.
But Alex, do you have an example to like speak to what you to what you're saying
I
is
have
true?
examples, but then everyone's just gonna call it like fake freedom or like that.
You just a
doesn't count.
comfortable nigga, man. You ain't talking about really nothing.
Try us.
I didn't hear what you said. So say that again.
No, I said try us. Humor us.
I think you just comfortable, man. You don't want to stir up nothing. It's cool though.
Are you like forming a militia right now, the soil?
No. I'm laying bait.
All right, that's what I thought.
I'm laying a bait. I'm laying bait.
Did you bust your guns at any federal agents today?
I'm letting immigrants get comfortable.
Oh. Did
That's what I'm doing.
Did you start an uprising at your local, pace of like legislature? I didn't think so. So like, what are you talking about? It sounds like you're comfortable.
Mad at black immigrants. He sounds like a government op himself.
No. Oh, anybody who's not about us.
It is devolved.
Check this out, right? The only reason everybody else is here because when we were stronger, everybody else was able to come in and get comfortable, right?
So
the only way y'all can survive, the only way you can survive in here and progress more than what you've done so far is for us to get back stronger. Eventually, you're gonna see us act butt naked out here, and I don't think y'all ready for that.
So in the system of white supremacy and white hegemony, your smoke is with other black people.
No.
Like you've been on the show for like the last what?
No. So, I don't want you to get me wrong, right? I don't think other black people are a problem.
In relation to other black people, but not the oppressors.
When I say black, to me, black only applies to my people. When other people who are making our situation more complicated than what it needs to be is when it becomes a problem.
Well, you're saying hold up. Like you saying people are comfortable. Like I want to know.
Alex, are you offended? Are you offended at being comfortable?
Like militia. Where's your militia? Where are you organizing your troops? Where are your like where's your regiment?
But Alex, did you take offense to him saying that you were comfortable?
No, I'm not taking offense to it because the thing is we're all comfortable. I want to know what is he doing that makes him like damn near like the reincarnation of Toussaint L'Ouverture. Like
Nat Turner, you know what I'm doing? I'm getting you uncomfortable.
I'm uncomfortable. How are you gonna make me uncomfortable, brother? You're not showing your face.
Don't give the government.
You're not. You're saying all that from the comfort of anonymity. So, like, what are you talking about?
Anyway, man, y'all can keep going with the conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate you being on here, though.
Kamal, you back?
Uncle Ruckus bullshit, man. What the hell?
Man, if you don't shut your clown ass up, I've been wanting to talk to you.
We get it. Don't trust them new.
Yeah. I've been wanting to talk. That's why I came over here to talk to you specifically.
Don't trust them you niggas over there. That's your MO.
All right, fellas. Again, we don't want to devolve into ad hominem.
No, let him speak. I want him to speak his mind, man. Cause ain't nobody check this old goofy nigga, man. What's happening?
Them nigga mush mouth motherfucker. What?
Yeah, again, I don't think that. We're not getting into any like actual like. If y'all want to debate like if y'all want to debate a point, let's debate a point. But
he got 3 shots in.
Throw a point out there.
and I didn't spit back at him.
So
now he getting
Kofi.
I didn't know niggas being called comfortable with strike such a nerve. I really had no.
It's a hella nerve. It's a hella nerve because you know what? They see us uncomfortable and they don't know what to do. They see FBA, and that's just another word for we not fucking with y'all.
Flex bank account, yeah, whatever.
That's all that is, man. And that's also another
Flex
word for
account. We get it.
y'all must have forgot
spend
who
your
he
money
was.
however you
That's
want.
all that
Flex
is,
bank
man.
account. Flex bank
What?
account. We get it. Make another man rich. It's cool.
Yo, gents, chill out.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell him, Kamu. Tell him, man. Let's can we all just get along?
I was hoping that y'all was going to debate a point, but
I throw a point out there. He ain't talking about some money and shit. He ain't talking about nothing.
Can't we all just
Kofi, inside a non ad hominem space, is there anything specific that you would like to ask our FBA brother?
It's gonna fall on deaf ears. Why did he come in here being all hostile towards Alex and I, talking about we with this divisive attitude? He came here with a divisive attitude, and we're all
I ain't
here
saying
talking.
nothing about divisive. That's just the bitch coming out you, man. I ain't saying nothing about nothing.
Kofi, before you go too further, so like giving the insult of being divisive, that is ad hominem. Let's stay like closer to like debate.
I don't even think he was hostile, and I don't think he came in hostile. Honestly, nigga being chill talking at the same tone, like that's hostile.
I forgot.
I don't think that's what he meant by hostile. I think like the idea of like taking jabs. I know you joked about like the comfortable thing. I understood like the idea where Alex was at, where the idea, if you're calling me comfortable, who is uncomfortable in the room and what are you doing to be uncomfortable? And if so, like explain that thing. I think that's more so what he's meaning by hostile.
That's too much explaining. He can ask me, why do I think he's comfortable? Not why somebody else would think he's comfortable. I'm telling you right, both of y'all comfortable to be talking like y'all talking.
Can I follow up my question? Because when I was on here the first time, and he probably missed it because he's still with this.
You didn't have no question. You was talking about money and everything.
He's still this unhistorical narrative that he specifically did something, or quote unquote FBA did something for Black Americans to get here when he doesn't know his own history. When we had
the African already told you that Nat Turner did something historical.
I got the floor.
What else do I need to say?
I got the floor. When we had people like Jamaicans like Harry Belafonte, Trinidadians like Stokely Carmichael,
scratch all that. What have you done?
Kwame and Kuma, and we had
what have you done besides talk about them?
Can you display some discipline, please?
You already said this before, man. We already heard them niggas. Stokely Carmichael. All of them, they already betrayed us. All of them betrayed us, man.
So if you know that already, you cannot lie on yourself and lie on history and said that just Black Americans alone did something during the civil rights.
Hey, so fellas, I'm a quick mute to y'all. We got a new caller in. Shout out Unk is in the building.
What up, Unk?
As you see, it's the wind down of the show. We're having a little fun. We've gotten a little looser than we typically are, but I love for you to reset the conversation and answer the question at hand. Can religion save Black America? And give us some input to what. Say it again.
I said, in my opinion, religion can't save Black America, but religion is a good thing to have. The one reason why religion can't save Black America, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you still think that it's necessary.
The reason why it can't save Black America, because Black America don't want to be saved, majority of them. That's one reason. You have to want to be saved in order to get saved. Can't nobody just come and save you. And religion ain't going to do it, because religion has always, it kind of like, it catered towards the ignorant. You understand what I'm saying? They always want the dumbest people. They'd rather have somebody reading them a book and won't read the book their own self and will rely off somebody telling them what to do. But the whole thing is that you need to be spiritual. You need to have a spiritual relationship with a higher power yourself. And if every individual does that, it'll work out. But you go to church and you go or whatever type of temple you go to or whatever because you were like-minded people. And a lot of those like-minded people are ignorant. And I'm sorry to say it, but all of them aren't, but it's a lot of them and they're just ignorant. And the religion always caters towards the ignorant. And that's something that's sad to say. And a lot of pastors know that. They know that they're going to tell them people something out of the Bible, and the person is not going to go home and read it. You know, they're going to just take their word for it and keep going. But black people need to just understand that, you know what I'm saying? You have to find a common ground beforehand. You want somebody to do anything, you have to find a common ground. And if the common ground is you want better, come and do better, show better. They don't do that. So religion is not going to play a part in that. And anyway, a Bible, everybody reading the King James Bible. King James was a gay man who wrote a Bible that most religious people say they're against gays.
Preach.
Shouldn't have been holding a book against
Preach.
that was written by somebody that you hate.
Sir.
How can you do that?
Right on,
You
brother.
a fool for reading.
Man, I got to stop you, man. I got 2 questions for you, man. When you talk about black people don't want to be saved, are you talking about your own household?
No, hey, that's ad hominem.
What'd you say?
That's
When
ad
you say
hominem.
black people don't want to be saved, are you talking about your own household?
Oh,
Get him,
I'm majority. No, I'm not speaking about my own household. My own household
Okay,
is doing
so-
well. I don't know how yours doing, brother, but mine is doing just well. Yours
So you saying the
probably,
household?
maybe yours need some help or something like that from a religion, but mine don't.
I don't know. I can't fix my mouth to talk about
Mine
my
do
people
not.
like that.
I am the priest of my household. I don't know what you are of yours. I am the priest of my
If
household.
you're the priest in your own
are
household, how
the
you gonna
priest of
tell us
yours?
that we need religion?
Just for the record,
If
Unc
I'm the
is
priest,
FBA,
I'm gonna
so
tell y'all
I
that.
don't know what
Don't
this
need
shit is.
religion. I'm saying for us in what it says in the
See,
Bible.
that's
You should be
that
the
old
one
nigga
that's the head of
shit,
your
man. I'm
household.
done
The
with
Bible
that
says
shit.
that. But I'm saying that's the right thing. But religion is not gonna save anybody from anything. You have to want it yourself. Do you
Hey
want
fellas, let me hop in really quickly.
do you want it? Do you want to be saved? If you don't want to
So,
be saved, you're not gonna be saved.
Give me a second. So wrap the show up. We kind of getting down to that countdown spot. Let me give everybody a quick 30 seconds. Wrap us up with your last closing thoughts. We try to keep it under 3 hours. So start with G. You muted.
Can we start with somebody else, please?
Alex.
Deep still got the giggle.
Yeah, good conversation. Thank you for having me here, Q and G. I stand by what I say. Nobody wants you free more than you want you free. So anybody trying to tell you anything else, be wary.
Talk to him, Johnny.
Yeah, hey, this is probably one of my favorites for Unpacked and for like the little nooks and crannies we got into. If you want more, if you want something a little lighter, holla at us Sunday, 4:30 p.m. I'm the host of the 2B Fair Show. You can follow us at the 2B Fair Show, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Threads.
Same YouTube page. Just hit
Same
subscribe.
YouTube, same hit notification, all of that. You want to catch me specifically, you can catch me at Johnny P. Newton. But hey, this was a great one, man. I like this.
Kofi, 30 seconds.
Black power, love each other, love your, just love black people, man. That's all I gotta say. Whoever hurt you. it's gonna be all right. And towards a religious thing, I believe in spirituality. I believe in just being a good person, but at the same time, you're gonna question the Bible. Just remember, why are there you have museums of artifacts? Why are there no biblical museums, figures of people or anything of worth that could show not in a museum? Why? Because it's all a story. It's all fictional when it comes to Judeo-Christian. They don't know where anything is because it's not real. Peace. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. The
Peace,
Soil, 30
brother.
seconds.
Man, I hope y'all get more comfortable as the years go by, man. We the only people I know use the Bible to uprule and make some stuff happen, man. So that's probably your history. It probably spanked you, but we use it to win. Other than that, man, y'all keep doing y'all thing, man. Y'all, shit. I mean,
No, we appreciate it.
Keep
I
an
think
eye on them, man. Look, the more y'all listen to them talk, the more you realize that they exasperated, man. They ain't got nothing without us. Look at them. It's over with, man. Y'all can keep playing these games if y'all want to, man. Peace out.
Yes, sir.
That's why I think over drugs, man.
Unc, 30 seconds. Oh shit.
30 seconds.
So my bad. We at the last minute. Let me wrap this all the way up. Shout out to Unc Ses Majid, aka Unc. Catch him 4:30 at the To Be Fair show too in the chat. That's one of the warriors right there. Kamu, South Africa's finest. It is him.
Yo.
We got G-ish podcast. We talking about them. Is it 4 or 5 Fs? What is
family,
it?
friends, finances, freedom, and our future, and fuck everything else. Follow at GSHPOD. Hi.
Yes, sir. And it is Q from the To Be Fair show. Catches 4:30. This has been another fire conversation, fire panel. Appreciate all the call-ins. And that's it, man. We had a great conversation, great building. And a little fun at the end. Shout out to the Soil. Shout out to Camel. Shout out to Ses Majid. Shout out to Kofi. And we out. Peace.